Chapter 772. Yi Chen frowned when he heard this. Damn it! How did Liang Fulong get in touch with those foxes? Fox Branch Mountain was the sacred ground of the Fox clan. It had a defensive formation that could ignore the attacks of Earth Immortals, and even Sky Immortals would need a day and a night to break through. Furthermore, this was the result of Fox Branch Mountain's Grand Mountain Protection Formation being unmanned. If Fox Branch Mountain's protective array had members of the White Fox clan, it would be even more powerful. Furthermore, it would have offensive capabilities. If Liang Fulong was really hiding in Fox Branch Mountain, as Nangong Zheng said, Yi Chun might not have been able to capture him. After all, Fox Branch Mountain's defensive formation was a little too freakish. It wasn't something Yi Chun could deal with at the moment. Could it be because of Liang Fulong's knowledge of formations that the foxes of Fox Branch Mountain agreed to help him? No matter how freaking awesome Liang Fulong was, he was only awesome in the mortal world. Fox Branch Mountain's defensive formation wasn't something he could understand, whatever the hell the reason was. He'd just go over there and make those foxes hand over Liang Fulong. Otherwise, when he reached the primordial world and was strong enough, he'd go to Fox Branch Mountain, break through their defensive formation, and exterminate their entire clan. Yi Chun was now in the Tribulation Transcendent stage. If he refined all the Khanate spirit treasures and Khanate cardinal treasures he had, he might have a chance of breaking through Fox Branch Mountain's defensive formation. But the problem was that Yi Chun hadn't completely refined any of the Khanate spirit treasures yet. At this thought, Yi Chun's eyes narrowed as a cold glint flashed through them. In the next second, Yi Chun looked at Nangong Zheng and asked, "Is Nangong Zheng a Fox Clan member? Is Nangong Shisan a Fox Clan player? Or is he related to them?" Nangong Shisan's background had never been exposed in Yi Chun's previous life. Most of the rumors circulating among the players were speculations about him. Although Yi Chun was not in the mood for gossip, he needed to know if Nangong Shisan was a Witch Tribe player or if Nangong Shisan was a member of the Witch Tribe. If Nangong Shisan really awakened the Witch Tribe bloodline in his body after the meteor and became a Witch Tribe player, then Nangong Shisan would definitely have some connection with the Witch Tribe players. In that case, Yi Chun would definitely have to go against the Sorcerer Tribe. After all, the Witch Tribe players had always been united against outsiders. The enemy of one Witch Tribe member was the enemy of the entire Witch Tribe. This was something that Yi Chun, who had been reborn, was very clear about and understood. Of course, the reason why Yi Chun asked about Nangong Shisan's identity was not because he was afraid of anything, nor was he worried about anything. Instead, it was because the Sorcerer Tribe's ability was a little strange. If Nangong Shisan was really a member of the Sorcerer Tribe, then Yi Chun would have to make some arrangements to prevent the Sorcerer Tribe from tricking him. Nangong Zheng, whose face was pale and covered in blood, was slightly taken aback when he heard this. Then, he looked at Yi Chun and asked, "How do you know this?" This should only be known by people from the Nangong Tribe and the Sorcerer Tribe. When Nangong Zheng said this, he was stunned once again. Then, he looked at Yi Chun with a face full of shock. You're also a Witch Tribe player?" "No, the Witch King doesn't allow Witch Tribe players to kill each other. No one can go against the Witch King's orders. You can't be a member of the Sorcerer Tribe." "No, if you're not, how do you know so much?" Nangong Zheng's eyes narrowed, and he shouted with a trembling voice, Your Witch Tribe bloodline is thicker than the Witch King's thicker. You're a Witch Emperor." At this point, Nangong Zheng suddenly understood everything. To be more precise, only Yi Chun was a Witch Tribe player, and the Witch Emperor with the thickest Witch Tribe bloodline could explain why Yi Chun knew so much about Nangong Shisan and the shadow goo and explosive poison goo in their bodies. Of course, the most important thing was that the speed of Yi Chun's rise was too fast. Only the identity of Witch Emperor could explain why Yi Chun was so abnormal. After all, the thicker the bloodline of a Witch Tribe player, the faster they could cultivate. Yi Chun was slightly taken aback when he heard Nangong Zheng's presumptuous judgment. He looked at Nangong Zheng and said, "You know too much." It was Yi Chun's first time hearing about a Witch Emperor. However, this didn't stop Yi Chun from saying so. This was because Yi Chen wasn't sure if Nangong San happened to be beside the three of them in the real world, or if he happened to pass by the room where the three of them were and noticed something was wrong. If that was the case, Nangong San would realize that two of the three of them were dead, and he would investigate the reason through the shadow goo. Yi Chen did not want Nangong San to notice anything amiss. If Nangong San really did notice it, Yi Chen's actions would be equivalent to misleading Nangong San so that he would not immediately flee after sensing something was wrong. After all, Nangong San was a member of the witch tribe, and Yi Chen was a witch emperor. If Nangong San thought that Yi Chen was a witch emperor, he definitely wouldn't run away. Instead, he would inform the witch tribe members and the witch king to plead on his behalf. In the witch tribe, bloodline was the most important thing. To be precise, whoever had the thicker witch tribe bloodline would have the power and ability to control the entire witch tribe. Don't kill me, great witch emperor. No matter how thin the witch tribe bloodline is, I am still a descendant of the witch tribe. Great witch emperor, we didn't know that you were a witch emperor. Please spare me. Great witch emperor. Nangong Zheng trembled and shouted hurriedly. The witch tribe never fought among themselves. Based on their bloodline, they would gather together and live in groups. However, the problem was that the witch tribe players who called themselves the witch tribe had very thin witch tribe bloodline in their bodies. It was because Nangong Zheng knew this that he thought that Yi Chen, the witch emperor, wouldn't let the witch tribe members with impure bloodline sense him. To be more precise, Yi Chen, the witch emperor, didn't care about the mixed blood witch tribe members. Nangong San was the mixed blood which that made Yi Chen, the witch emperor, unhappy. In addition, the Nangong tribe had gone against their superiors and schemed against Yi Chen, the witch emperor, causing Yi Chen, who was already unhappy, to be enraged. This was why he wanted to kill the Nangong tribe personally. It was because of this that Nangong Zheng saw a glimmer of hope on the path of death. To be precise, he used his sincerity to move Yi Chen, the witch emperor. After all, although he didn't activate the witch tribe bloodline, he had potential. Of course, the most important thing was that the witch tribe didn't fight among themselves. Nangong Zheng wanted to make use of this to try and seize the chance to survive. When Yi Chen heard this, he glanced at Nangong Zheng and stabbed Nangong Zheng's head with the Godslayer in his right hand. Poof! A sound was heard. The black and thick Godslayer instantly pierced through Nangong Zheng's head. At the same time, the Godslayer flashed and devoured Nangong Zheng's soul. In the next second, Yi Chen bent his right hand and pointed at the void. 3 balls of fire appeared out of nowhere and flew towards the 2 lumps of rotten flesh on the ground and Nangong Zheng's corpse. Boom, boom, boom. After 3 sounds, the shadow goo and explosive poison goo hidden in the 2 lumps of rotten flesh and Nangong Zheng's corpse were burned to ashes. At the same time, the god-slaying spear in Yi Chen's right hand shook violently. Then, the god-slaying spear shone with a dark light. Instantly, the god-slaying spear froze the souls of the 6 venomous insects on the spot. Then, it devoured them completely. Whether it was the shadow goo or the explosive poison goo, the death of any one of them wouldn't be a true death. This was similar to how players could be revived after dying in the game world. This was because the goo worms in Nangong Zheng, Nangong Sheng, and Nangong Fang's bodies were in the real world. If Yi Chen left these 2 goo worms alone, the explosive poison goo wouldn't be a problem, but the shadow goo would be different. Nangong Sheng must have activated the shadow goo earlier. He wanted to record everything he heard from Yi Chen through the shadow goo, and then activate the explosive poison goo to warn the Nangong clan. After all, once the explosive poison goo was activated, the body in the real world would also explode. This way, it would be difficult for the Nangong clan members not to discover this. After that, Nangong San would definitely come out to investigate and then obtain information related to Yi Chen. After that, it would be simple. The Nangong clan would definitely abandon their territory and stay far away from Yi Chen. This wasn't the outcome Yi Chen wanted to see. It was also because of this that Yi Chen directly killed all the remaining goo worms with the Godslayer. Yi Chen glanced at the room that was filled with pieces of flesh and blood. With a thought, he took a step forward and instantly disappeared. Reincarnation Immortal City, City Lord Mansion. The space suddenly distorted, and then Yi Chen walked out. Looking at the empty hall, Yi Chen directly went offline. In the real world, Reincarnation City, City Lord Mansion's hall. The diamond-level gaming cabin opened with a creak, and then Yi Chen walked out of it. In the hall, Flaming Tiger Yulin was in a bad mood because of the ghost realm in Reincarnation Immortal City in the Three Kingdoms zone. When she saw this, she couldn't help but be stunned. Then her eyes lit up. In the next second, Flaming Tiger Yulin directly looked at Yi Chen and asked softly, "Brother, has the matter been resolved?" "Half of it has been resolved." When Yi Chen heard this, he smiled slightly and said. After he finished speaking, he thought of something and continued, "That's right. Yulin, if there are any worms within 100 miles of Reincarnation Immortal City, don't let any of them go. Kill them all. If there are any strange changes around Reincarnation City, don't go near it. Just blast it with your magic arts." Yi Chen said this to prevent the sorcerer tribe from tracing this place and attacking Reincarnation City. Yi Chen couldn't tell what the sorcerer tribe would do, but this didn't stop Yi Chen from making preparations in advance. Of course, Yi Chen didn't know where the sorcerer tribe's stronghold was. Otherwise, Yi Chen would go there directly and wipe out all the sorcerer tribe's enemies to prevent future trouble. Flaming Tiger Yulin was slightly stunned when she heard this. Then, she hurriedly nodded and replied, "Yes, brother." Hearing this, Yi Chen smiled. Then, he used his mind and released his powerful mind sense. In the next second, Yi Chen squinted and a cold light flashed across his eyes. Found it. Thinking of this, Yi Chen used his mind, and the space in front of him was instantly distorted. After taking a look at the distorted space, Yi Chen stepped into it and disappeared. In the front hall of the mayor's mansion in Nangong Town, the core members of the Nangong clan were gathered here. What was puzzling was that everyone was looking at a huge 8 trigrams mirror hanging on a wall of the hall. Why hasn't he connected? Is that bastard Liang Fulong going back on his word? A middle-aged man looked at the plain 8 trigrams mirror hanging on the wall and said with a displeased expression. Just as the middle-aged man finished speaking, the 8 trigrams mirror hanging on the wall suddenly lit up. Then, a middle-aged man with a long goatee appeared in it. In the next second, the middle-aged man cupped his fists and said to all the core members of the Nangong clan in the hall, "Greetings, everyone." Chapter 773. As soon as the middle-aged man with a goatee finished speaking, a man of about 55 years old sitting in the main seat in Nangong Zhan's hall frowned slightly. Then he looked at the goatee man in the mirror and said, "What's wrong? Mr. Zhuge, is there any news about the nine-tailed fox fan?" Nangong clan leader, this is the fox clan's territory. As a human, I don't have much freedom. Therefore, I need team leader Nangong to continue providing dragon saliva fruits. Liang can use this to gain the fox clan leader's trust. The goatee man in the 8 trigrams mirror smiled and said. The Nangong clan leader's face darkened when he heard this. At this moment, a 22-year-old young man suddenly stood up from his seat and looked directly at the goatee man in the 8 trigrams mirror. Liang Fulong, you'd better not play any tricks. Don't think that everything will be fine just because you're at Fox Branch Mountain. You can ignore Yi Chen's pursuit and ignore me, Nangong Shi-san. Others might not be able to do anything to you, but I, Nangong Shi-san, have plenty of ways to make your life a living hell. As soon as Nangong Shi-san finished speaking, the space in the hall suddenly distorted. At this moment, Liang Fulong in the 8 trigrams mirror smiled at the angry Nangong Shi-san and said, "Young Master Nangong, I can swear to the heavens that I have no such intentions. Moreover, I've already told young Master Nangong that everything I do is to change my fate. For this reason, I'm even willing to accept young Master Nangong's poisonous explosion goo worm. Isn't this enough to prove my sincerity?" When Nangong Shi-san heard this, he frowned slightly. Then, he looked at the Nangong clan's patriarch. After receiving confirmation from the Nangong clan's patriarch, Nangong Shursan looked at Liang Fulong and said, "That'd better be the case. Otherwise, I'll let you know what it means to live a living hell. As for the dragon saliva fruits you mentioned, they're extremely rare. I can at most get you 10 more. If these 10 fruits can't let you gain the Fox clan leader's trust, then snatch the nine-tailed fox fan by force. It doesn't matter if you have the ability or if you can succeed, you must do it. Otherwise, I'll activate the poisonous explosion goo worm. No matter how you explain it, it's useless. Do you understand? Young Master Nangong, please be at ease. I am confident that I can truly obtain the trust of the Fox Clan's clan leader. In addition, I also have a request for young Master Nangong." When Liang Fulong heard this, he smiled and nodded before speaking. When Nangong Shursan heard this, he frowned slightly. "What is it?" Inside the Bagua mirror, Liang Fulong was silent for a moment before sighing. The 8 trigrams formation that Liang set up in the Samsara forest has been activated. Liang doesn't know the result, but Liang is sure that Yichen won't be affected at all. If the Ghost Domain and Reincarnation Forest wasn't destroyed by Yichen, then Reincarnation Immortal City would definitely be destroyed. If it was someone else, then Liang wouldn't care. However, there's one person that Liang won't forget even if he dies. Nangong Shursan was taken aback by Liang Fulong's words. Then he recalled something. In the next second, Nangong Shursan looked at Liang Fulong in the 8 trigrams mirror and said, "Are you talking about Huang Weiner? If it weren't for Yichen, she would have been my wife." Therefore, Liang beseeches young Master Nangong to send someone to the Reincarnation Immortal City to investigate. If young Master Nangong is lucky enough to find young Master Nangong, please bring her to this world. "Liang, thank you," Liang Fulong said and bowed deeply to Nangong Shursan. At this moment, a handsome young man with a tyrannical aura suddenly walked out of the distorted space that had appeared in the hall for a while, but had not been noticed by anyone. In an instant, the core members of the Nangong clan in the hall all looked at the young man who had suddenly appeared. Then, their eyes widened in unison. In the next second, a uniform cry of surprise rang out. "Yichen!" Bang, bang, bang. A series of people stood up quickly from their chairs. The core members of the Nangong clan, without exception, all stood up from their chairs. Then, they all looked at Yichen with incomparable panic. In an instant, fear, panic, and other negative emotions appeared in the hearts of all the members of the Nangong clan in the hall. At this moment, Liang Fulong, who was bowing to Nangong Shursan in the 8 trigrams mirror, heard the exclamation of Yichen. His body suddenly stiffened. Then, he stood up and looked at the young man who had suddenly appeared in the hall. In the next second, Liang Fulong's expression changed. At this moment, Liang Fulong couldn't help but feel that his plan had completely failed. Yichen glanced at the core members of the Nangong clan in the hall, then looked directly at Liang Fulong, whose expression had changed greatly through the 8 trigrams mirror. He shouted coldly, "Liang Fulong, how dare you?" As soon as Yichen finished speaking, the tyrannical aura that was constantly emitting from his body suddenly erupted. Then a gust of wind blew in the windless hall. The wind blew the hair of the core members of the Nangong clan in the hall. Their clothes were flapping, and the chairs behind them were blown away. Pa, pa, pa. After a few sounds, all the chairs in the hall crashed into the wall and shattered into pieces. When the core members of the Nangong clan saw this, they couldn't help but think of running away. However, no one dared to move, not even a single step. Among them, the pillar of the Nangong clan, Nangong Shursan, was the same. As powerful and proud as he was, it was only now that he clearly saw the gap between him and Yichen. It was like the gap between the sky and the earth, or the difference between an ant and a tree. There was no comparison at all. When Liang Fulong saw this through the 8 trigrams mirror, he took a deep look at Yichen and let out a long sigh. Then, he cupped his fist and bowed to Yichen. "Greetings, Lord Yu of Beach. No matter where you run to, no matter where you hide, there will be no place for you to hide. I will kill anyone who dares to protect you. I will kill anyone who dares to protect you." Yichen sneered when he heard this. Then, He pointed at Liang Fulong with his right hand and shouted. Yichen had come here and heard everything Liang Fulong had said with his own ears. It would be strange if Yichen could still maintain his calm. After all, Liang Fulong was still thinking about Huang Weiner. As Huang Weiner's man, how could Yichen not be filled with killing intent? This was indeed the case. If Yichen had been determined to kill Liang Fulong in the past, then Yichen was determined to grind Liang Fulong's bones to ashes and destroy his consciousness now. When Liang Fulong heard this in the 8 trigrams mirror, he suddenly smiled and stood up. Then, he gently straightened the green robes he was wearing. A second later, Liang Fulong looked at Yichen and said seriously, Lord Yichen, you want to ascend to the throne. The Ghost King wants to walk the path of the Sovereign Emperor. Before he unifies the world, he will definitely not ascend. As for Liang, he will be able to ascend today. I wonder if the Ghost King likes this news? Chapter 774. When Yichen heard this, he narrowed his eyes and said in a deep voice, You actually got your hands on the Demon Transformation Secret Scroll. Liang Fulong said that he could ascend today. If it were someone else, they might not believe it. One must know that Liang Fulong was a native of the novice region of the 3 kingdoms. He was restricted by the heavenly Tao of the novice region of the 3 kingdoms and couldn't ascend at all. Unless Liang Fulong could follow Yichen and ascend with the entire nation, Liang Fulong wouldn't be able to ascend by himself. But in fact, when Yichen heard this news, his first reaction was that what Liang Fulong said was true. This was because the current Liang Fulong didn't need to lie at all. To be more precise, Liang Fulong was very confident about his ascension. Otherwise, he wouldn't talk to Yichen like this. If it were someone else, they might be dumbfounded by this, but Yichen wasn't. This was because the reborn Yichen did indeed know a way to let the natives of the novice region of the 3 kingdoms break free from the heavenly Tao's restrictions. To be more precise, it was the Demon Transformation Secret Scroll. In Yichen's previous life, the Demon Transformation Secret Scroll had appeared a few times, but the users were human players in the real world. After they used the Demon Transformation Secret Scroll, they successfully transformed into the demon race. Unfortunately, abandoning their human identity and becoming a member of the demon race didn't seem to be very easy. To be more precise, those human players who turned into demons all had very tragic endings. After all, the demon race was just like the human race. It was also full of conflicts. Of course, this wasn't important. What was important was that if Liang Fulong really got his hands on the Demon Transformation Secret Scroll, he could indeed use it to change his identity as a native of the novice region of the 3 kingdoms and become a demon race player. This way, Liang Fulong could use his identity as a demon race player to re-enter the game world. Then, after breaking through to the mortal evolution state, he could ascend directly. As soon as Yichen said this, Liang Fulong in the Bagua mirror smiled and said, You really do know a lot of things. The Spectral King indeed knows many secrets. However, so what if he knows? Can the Spectral King crack Fox Branch Mountain's protective array? As soon as Liang Fulong said this, a furious roar instantly sounded. Liang Fulong, how dare you lie to me? I'll kill you. Nangong Shi-san was provoked by Liang Fulong's words. As for whether or not Yichen was part of this, it was not important. What was important was that Nangong Shi-san immediately made a hand seal, preparing to activate the explosive poison goo in Liang Fulong's body. When Yichen saw this, he sneered. Idiot, since Liang Fulong dared to say it out loud. Either he wasn't poisoned by the explosive poison goo worm at all, or the explosive poison goo worm had been removed. What was the point of activating it? However, Liang Fulong was indeed Liang Fulong. This series of schemes was not something an ordinary person could come up with. One couldn't blame Yichen for thinking this way. Liang Fulong wanted to take revenge on Yichen and change his fate. He willingly allowed Nangong Shi-san to implant the explosive poison goo. After that, Liang Fulong took advantage of this. At the same time, he also took advantage of Nangong Shi-san's desire for the Fox clan's 9-tailed celestial fox fan to ask the Nangong clan for the dragon saliva fruit. Then he used the dragon saliva fruit to contact the group of foxes in Fox Branch Mountain. After that, Liang Fulong could secretly use one of the foxes in Fox Branch Mountain to use the secret scroll of demon transformation to officially transform into a demon. Or rather, transform into a fox and become a demon player. In this way, Liang Fulong could directly use the identity of a demon player to enter the game world. Moreover, he could enter directly with his true body. When he entered the game world, he could demonize Liang Fulong and swallow the dragon saliva fruit that he secretly hid. Then, he could directly break through to become a demon. In this way, the demonized Liang Fulong, or rather, the fox Liang Fulong, could directly ascend to the Eldritch world. In Liang Fulong's many schemes, there were 3 key points. Without any one of them, Liang Fulong's schemes might not succeed. The first one was that the Nangong clan wanted to scheme against Yi Chun, and Liang Fulong also wanted to take revenge on Yi Chun. This was a common understanding. Without this, the chances of Liang Fulong colluding with the Nangong clan were not high. The second one was the dragon saliva fruit. It could greatly increase one's strength, strengthen one's body and bones. It could also greatly increase the chances of pregnancy. Moreover, it could produce at least triplets every time. To the Fox Clan leader who wholeheartedly wanted to strengthen the Fox Clan, but could only have 3 offspring in the end due to his own flaws, this was extremely tempting. Without this, Liang Fulong would not have been able to come into contact with the Fox Clan leader of Fox Branch Mountain. Of course, there must be other reasons. Otherwise, the Fox Clan leader of Fox Branch Mountain would not have allowed Liang Fulong to enter Fox Branch Mountain and even provided good food and drinks. The third key point was the nine-tailed celestial fox fan. The nine-tailed celestial fox fan was the most precious treasure of the Fox Clan. Even Yi Chun, who had been reborn, had considered snatching the nine-tailed celestial fox fan of the Fox Clan. As for the reason, it was very simple. The nine-tailed celestial fox fan was very powerful. Being able to summon the nine-tailed celestial fox to battle was only one of its basic abilities. Apart from this, the nine-tailed celestial fox fan could also greatly increase the user's mental strength. It could also greatly reduce the user's magic power when a user was casting spells, greatly increasing the user's attack power. At first glance, it did not seem like much, but in reality, that was not the case at all. Once all the abilities of the nine-tailed celestial fox fan were unleashed, it could directly raise a celestial immortal to the level of a golden immortal. Of course, this was referring to strength and not realm. Even so, this was enough to make countless people jealous. One had to know that this was the result of a celestial immortal obtaining the nine-tailed celestial fox fan. If it were a golden immortal or Daluo Jinxian, it would still be a level higher. Although Demisage was the limit of the nine-tailed celestial fox fan, there were not many Demisages in the Eldritch world. It was also for this reason that the nine-tailed celestial fox fan was coveted by many players of the human clan and the demon clan in Yi Chen's previous life. At this moment, the Nangong clan came into contact with dragons subduing not only to scheme against Yi Chun, but also to obtain the nine-tailed celestial fox fan. Although Yi Chun did not know where they got the news, since the Nangong clan was scheming against the nine-tailed celestial fox fan in Fox Branch Mountain, they must know the use of the nine-tailed celestial fox fan. Otherwise, they would not have joined forces with dragons subduing to scheme against the nine-tailed celestial fox fan. Of course, this was not important. What was important was that Yi Chun had also thought of snatching the nine-tailed celestial fox fan from the Fox Clan. One had to know that Yi Chun had promised Guo Yi long ago that he would get him a useful fan. Unfortunately, it was only a thought. Basically, the mountain protection array of Fox Branch Mountain could not be broken through, especially when the mountain protection array of Fox Branch Mountain would continue to grow stronger as the members of the Fox Clan became stronger. Of course, nothing was absolute. In Yi Chen's previous life, a dog demon that called itself the Divine Husky appeared among the shifters. It used some unknown method to sneak into Fox Branch Mountain and even forced himself on one of the daughters of the Fox Clan master of Fox Branch Mountain. Of course, The awesome divine husky in his previous life had long been turned into a dead dog by Yi Chun. Moreover, it was the kind that could not be more dead. However, no matter how dead it could not erase the fact that it had successfully sneaked in a Fox Branch Mountain in Yi Chen's previous life. This was an exception among the shifters. In Yi Chen's previous life, there was a human player who was so lucky that he directly killed a golden pig from the golden race and quickly rose to prominence. He had also snuck into Fox Branch Mountain and successfully abducted a fox princess. Then, he forced himself on her. It seemed that the fox princess who had been forced on even gave birth to a child for him. Of course, this was not important. What was important was that this lucky guy had also successfully sneaked in a Fox Branch Mountain. These were the two special cases of Fox Branch Mountain that Yi Chun could not break through in his previous life. And among them, the divine husky had borrowed its talent or other abilities. This ability or talent was not something Yi Chun could replicate. Otherwise, Yi Chun would have definitely interrogated the husky about the method to ignore Fox Branch Mountain's protective array and directly sneak in a Fox Branch Mountain when he killed it. As for the second special case, that lucky guy had yet to appear. Yi Chun had no idea who it was and had no place to ask. Otherwise, Yi Chun would have found that lucky guy from his previous life and asked him about the method to avoid Fox Branch Mountain's protective array and directly enter Fox Branch Mountain. Thinking of this, Yi Chun's eyes suddenly widened. Wait, that lucky guy must have had the ability to see through the flaws in Fox Branch Mountain's protective array because he had eaten that golden pig. Otherwise, it was impossible for him to be unknown before he obtained the golden pig. F***. That must be it. Thinking of this, Yi Chun's eyes suddenly lit up. I still have a golden python in my small world, damn it. After dealing with the Nangon clan, I'll go directly to Fox Branch Mountain, snatch the nine-tailed celestial fox fan, and destroy Liang Fulong. Chapter 776. When Liang Fulong in the 8 trigrams mirror saw Yi Chun put away the 83 dragon saliva fruits, an unhappy expression instantly appeared on his face. However, he immediately regained his composure. In the next second, Liang Fulong in the 8 trigrams mirror looked directly at Yi Chun and said, Yi Yu of Gojoseon, Liang has a suggestion. I wonder if Yi Yu of Gojoseon is interested in listening? Yi Chun, who had just put away the dragon saliva fruits into his small world, sneered when he heard this. Then, he looked at Liang Fulong in the 8 trigrams mirror and asked, You want the dragon saliva fruits? Liang Fulong had already gathered enough dragon saliva fruits to directly advance into a fairy after successfully transforming into a demon race player. Otherwise, Liang Fulong wouldn't have said that he could ascend today. However, the dragon saliva fruits that Liang Fulong currently possessed were obviously not enough to support Liang Fulong's scheme. Otherwise, Liang Fulong wouldn't have continued to ask for dragon saliva fruits from Nangon Shursan. As for what Liang Fulong's scheme was, Yi Chun wasn't sure. However, it was basically nothing more than building a relationship with the Fox clan of Fox Branch Mountain, or scheming against the Fox clan of Fox Branch Mountain to obtain the nine-tailed celestial fox fan, or increasing his strength to the greatest extent so that he could adapt to these 3 points as soon as possible after ascending to the Eldritch world. Of course, there could also be other reasons. As for what they were, it wasn't important. What was important was that Liang Fulong wanted the dragon saliva fruits. And for Yi Chun, this was an opportunity. To be more precise, it was an opportunity to stall for time. After all, Liang Fulong wanted to use the secret scroll of demon transformation to transform himself into a demon race player. If Liang Fulong successfully transformed himself into a demon race player before Yi Chun rushed into Fox Branch Mountain, Yi Chun would have to go to the Eldritch world if he wanted to capture Liang Fulong. The Eldritch world was so big that it was completely beyond imagination. If Yi Chun really went to the Eldritch world to hunt down Liang Fulong, it would be no different from looking for a needle in a haystack. This was not the result that Yi Chun wanted to see. It was precisely because of this that Yi Chun deliberately displayed disdain and sneered. His attitude was extremely unfriendly, but he did not directly refuse to listen to what Liang Fulong wanted to say. This was because this was the only way to make Liang Fulong lower his guard. It was also the only way Liang Fulong would not think that Yi Chun had a way to rush into Fox Branch Mountain. This way, Yi Chun would have more than enough time to rush into Fox Branch Mountain and kill Liang Fulong. As soon as Yi Chun finished speaking, Liang Fulong, who was inside the 8 trigrams mirror, was stunned. Clearly, Liang Fulong did not expect that Yi Chun would be able to guess his thoughts. After coming back to his senses, Liang Fulong took a deep look at Yi Chun, then nodded and said, "Yes. Yi Yu of Gojoseon, don't be in a hurry to refuse." What Liang Fulong can take out doesn't necessarily mean that he can't move Yi Yu of Gojoseon. The nine-tailed celestial fox fan? Yi Chun curled his lips in disdain when he heard this. The nine-tailed celestial fox fan was the supreme treasure of the Fox clan of Fox Branch Mountain. Even Yi Chun wanted to get his hands on it. If there was something that could move Yi Chun at this moment, it was basically the nine-tailed celestial fox fan. However, Yi Chun did not think that Liang Fulong would take out the nine-tailed celestial fox fan. Even if Liang Fulong really obtained the nine-tailed celestial fox fan now, he would not casually take it out to exchange for the dragon saliva fruit. One must know that the value of the two was completely incomparable. To be precise, no matter how many dragon saliva fruits there were, they could not compare to the supreme treasure of the Fox clan of Fox Branch Mountain, the nine-tailed celestial fox fan. This was only in terms of the value of the two. In terms of practicality, it was even more impossible for Liang Fulong to give up on the nine-tailed celestial fox fan. One must know that since Liang Fulong had already decided to use the secret scroll of demon transformation and become a demon clan player and directly ascend to the primordial world after becoming a demon spirit, it was impossible for him to give up on the nine-tailed celestial fox fan. After all, with the nine-tailed celestial fox fan in hand, Liang Fulong's strength would directly increase by 1 level. Therefore, if Liang Fulong had the nine-tailed celestial fox fan in hand now, he would not take it out to exchange for the dragon saliva fruit. The reason why Yi Chun asked Liang Fulong this question, other than deliberately, was that he wanted to determine whether Liang Fulong had obtained the nine-tailed celestial fox fan. Of course, this was not important. What was important was actually to dispel Liang Fulong's suspicions about whether Yi Chun could charge into Fox Branch Mountain. To be more precise, Yi Chun was actually still acting, and his goal was the same as before. It was to make Liang Fulong feel at ease about the deal and to stall for time. As soon as Yi Chun finished speaking, Liang Fulong immediately smiled. Then, he looked at Yi Chun in the hall and said, "Yi Yu of Gojoseon, if Liang had the nine-tailed celestial fox fan, he would not take it out to make a deal with Yi Yu of Gojoseon. However, Liang can guarantee that Liang sincerely wants to make a deal with Yi Yu of Gojoseon. Moreover, this deal will only benefit Yi Yu of Gojoseon and will not harm him at all." When Yi Chun heard this, he frowned and then shouted in a deep voice, "Speak." When Liang Fulong heard Yi Chun's angry words from inside the Bagua mirror, he could not help but raise his eyebrows. Then, he chuckled and said, "How about the Bell of Chaos? You have the Bell of Chaos? Are you King kidding me?" When Yi Chun heard this, his eyes narrowed fiercely and he shouted in a deep voice. The Bell of Chaos was a primordial treasure with invincible defense. Once it was used, it would be invincible. Of course, this was not the key point. The key point was that the Bell of Chaos was Dong Huang Tai's lifelong treasure and was still in his hands. Now that Liang Fulong had proposed to use the Bell of Chaos to make a deal with Yi Chun, how could Yi Chun believe him? Moreover, if Liang Fulong had the Bell of Chaos, he would not use it to make a deal with Yi Chun, unless he was a fool and an idiot. After all, the Bell of Chaos was a primordial treasure that could not be compared to the nine-tailed celestial fox fan at all. Moreover, it was more suitable for Liang Fulong who wanted to ascend to the untainted land. After all, with the Bell of Chaos protecting him, Liang Fulong could completely ignore everything except mighty figures. In this way, how could Liang Fulong give up the Bell of Chaos? It was also because of this that Yi Chun did not think that Liang Fulong had the Bell of Chaos. As soon as Yi Chun finished speaking, a thought suddenly appeared in Yi Chun's mind. Holy shit, that bastard Liang Fulong. Did he get the method to get the Bell of Chaos? As soon as Yi Chun thought of this, Liang Fulong in the Bagua mirror did not get angry at Yi Chun's insults at all. Instead, he chuckled and said, Liang, of course you don't have the Bell of Chaos, but you have the sun's true flame diagram. As long as you have beaked wield this diagram, you can ignore the sun's true flame and rush directly into the sun star. When the time comes, as long as you have beaked you're strong enough, what can't you snatch? When Yi Chun heard this, his eyes suddenly widened. The sun's true flame diagram? Damn it! How could that idiot Liang Fulong have such good luck? How'd he get this? The sun's true flame diagram was a special tool that was similar to a treasure. Although it was a one-time use and could only last for a day, this thing had 100% control over the sun's true flame. To be more precise, with the sun's true flame diagram, no matter how ferocious the sun's true flame was, it would not hurt the person holding the diagram. If it were anyone else, they might at most treat it as a protective treasure. After all, this thing's ability was a one-time use. Besides controlling the sun's true flame, it had no other abilities. However, for Yi Chun, this thing was just right for him to do something that Yi Chun had previously thought of but never done. To be precise, it was to refine the sun's true flame. Chapter 777. It seemed that Yi Chun's idea was unrealistic. After all, to refine the solar primordial fire, one had to have it first. Did Yi Chun have the solar primordial fire? Of course, the answer was yes. This was because when Yi Chun wiped out the Gong Sun clan, he had obtained Ruling Sword, which could release the solar primordial fire from a foreign player named Jack. With Ruling Sword, Yi Chun could use the solar primordial fire whenever he wanted. However, the solar primordial fire was not any weaker than the Red Lotus fire. In fact, it was more dangerous. Therefore, when Yi Chun had the idea of refining the solar primordial fire, he had not really put it into action. Of course, this did not mean that Yi Chun was afraid or worried about anything. It was just that Yi Chun had not had the time to make the necessary preparations. And now, the sun's true flame diagram that Liang Fulong proposed was no less than a great surprise to Yi Chun. After all, with the solar primordial fire diagram, Yi Chun did not have to worry about refining the solar primordial fire at all. It was very simple and easy, and Yi Chun, who had control of the solar primordial fire, would definitely reach the top in terms of fire-type abilities. To be more precise, after refining the solar primordial fire, Yi Chun could basically be said to be unafraid of all fire-type powers. The solar primordial fire was the fire of the purest yang. Once he had control of it, what was there to be afraid of? Moreover, Yi Chun also had control of one of the top 10 fires of the prehistoric times, the Red Lotus fire. He also had the innate spiritual treasure, the Fire Spirit Pearl. With this kind of power, it would be difficult for Yi Chun not to make a name for himself in the fire-type Tao. Of course, if Yi Chun could obtain the fire origin, that would be even better. In this way, Yi Chun would have a chance to control the fire-type Tao and become the king of the fire-type. Although this was not in line with Yi Chun's using strength to prove one's Tao, who would care about controlling one more type of Tao power? At least, Yi Chun did not care about this. Of course, this wasn't important. What was important was that Liang Fulong had the sun's true flame diagram in his hands, and Yi Chun was prepared to head to Fox Branch Mountain to kill Liang Fulong after dealing with the Nangong clan. In this way, the sun's true fire diagram would eventually fall into Yi Chun's hands. Thinking of this, Yi Chun raised his eyebrows. However, his face immediately darkened. Damn, Liang Fulong, this bastard, is he trying to scheme against me again? Liang Fulong was willing to use this sun true fire diagram to make a deal with Yi Chun in exchange for the dragon saliva fruit. Other than wanting to complete his unknown plan, he also wanted to scheme against Yi Chun. At first glance, it was somewhat incomprehensible. However, that was the truth. To be more precise, Liang Fulong wanted to use the Sun True Flame diagram to arouse Yi Chen's greed for the supreme treasure, the Bell of Primal Chaos, so that Yi Chen would clash with the Dongwang Tai. Otherwise, why would Liang Fulong specially mention the Dongwang Tai and the Bell of Primal Chaos? As for whether Yi Chen would do as Liang Fulong planned, Liang Fulong naturally didn't know. However, this didn't stop Liang Fulong from scheming against Yi Chen. As long as Yi Chen's greed for the Bell of Primal Chaos arose, he would definitely use the Sun True Flame diagram to rush to the Sun Star and cause trouble for the Dongwang Tai. In this way, it will be difficult for Yi Chen not to clash with the Demon Emperor. Of course, the prerequisite for this was that Yi Chen had to have the strength to contend against the Dongwang Tai. Although this seemed like it would take a long time, this didn't stop Liang Fulong from planning ahead. In fact, it wasn't difficult to see Liang Fulong's intentions from this. To be more precise, Liang Fulong didn't have much confidence in going against Yi Chen. The reason he proposed the Sun True Flame diagram was so that after his plan to take revenge on Yi Chen failed, he could borrow the hands of others to continue taking revenge on Yi Chen. Thinking of this, Yi Chen's eyes narrowed and a cold light flashed. In the next second, Yi Chen looked directly at Liang Fulong in the 8 trigrams mirror and asked, "Sure, what kind of deal? You of Beach have great courage and foresight. I admire you greatly." Hearing this, Liang Fulong smiled and cupped his fists. When Yi Chen heard this, he immediately frowned. At this moment, Liang Fulong continued, "As long as you of Beach arrives at Fox Branch Mountain, the little fox will naturally receive you of Beach. At that time, you of Beach only need to take out 40 dragon saliva fruits for the little fox to bring back to Fox Branch Mountain. When the little fox comes out again, you of Beach will give the remaining dragon saliva fruits to the little fox. After that, the Sun True Flame diagram will completely belong to you of Beach." As soon as Liang Fulong finished speaking, Yi Chen frowned again. It seemed that this bastard Liang Fulong had convinced the Fox Clan leader of Fox Branch Mountain to become a member of the Fox Clan. One couldn't blame Yi Chen for thinking this. After all, Liang Fulong was still in his human form. It was obvious that he hadn't used the secret scroll of demon transformation yet. In this state, Liang Fulong's identity was still that of a human. However, he said that the little fox would receive Yi Chen and would replace Liang Fulong to make a deal with Yi Chen. This was the crux of the problem. If Liang Fulong wasn't accepted by the Fox Clan leader and was even considered a member of the Fox Clan, no matter which fox was sent out to make a deal with Yi Chen, none of the dragon saliva fruits would end up in Liang Fulong's hands. Such an outcome was clearly not in Liang Fulong's interest. No matter how stupid Liang Fulong was, he wouldn't do such a thing. Of course, nothing was absolute in this world. If Liang Fulong wanted to use the dragon saliva fruits to scheme against the Fox Clan leader of Fox Branch Mountain, that would be a different matter. However, such a situation didn't seem to exist at the moment. One had to know that the dragon saliva fruits were brought back to Fox Branch Mountain by a certain little fox. As such, the dragon saliva fruits wouldn't fall into Liang Fulong's hands. However, if Liang Fulong used the dragon saliva fruits, there wouldn't be any possibility of tampering. As such, how could Liang Fulong use the dragon saliva fruits to scheme against the Fox Clan leader of Fox Branch Mountain? It was also because of this that Yi Chen came to the conclusion that Liang Fulong had been accepted by the Fox Clan leader of Fox Branch Mountain. Damn it, the Fox Clan leader of Fox Branch Mountain sure had guts. Not only did he take in the monstrously intelligent Liang Fulong, but he also treated Liang Fulong as a fellow clansman. Wasn't he afraid of being schemed against? If Liang Fulong wanted to change his fate and take revenge on Yi Chen, he needed to have the strength to match Yi Chen's strength. Furthermore, he needed to have powerful treasures. The nine-tailed celestial fox fan was a powerful treasure. Although it wasn't ranked at the top, it was still a connate numinous treasure. After all, the nine-tailed celestial fox fan could summon the nine-tailed celestial fox and forcibly raise one's strength by a level. There weren't many treasures with such a function. It was also because of this that Liang Fulong, who wanted to change his fate and take revenge on Yi Chen, would definitely end up scheming against the Fox clan leader of Fox Branch Mountain. Then, he would snatch the position of clan leader and obtain the nine-tailed celestial fox fan. Therefore, the Fox clan leader's taking in Liang Fulong was purely suicidal. Of course, it didn't matter whether the Fox clan leader was suicidal or not. What mattered was the outcome. The Fox clan leader had accepted Liang Fulong, and this was enough to cause Yi Chen's murderous intent, which was already tyrannical to begin with, to rise sharply. After all, Liang Fulong was Yi Chen's enemy. Moreover, he was the kind that had to be killed. The Fox clan leader's choice was to make an enemy of Yi Chen. How could Yi Chen remain calm when facing an enemy? At this thought, Yi Chen smiled coldly and said, "You have a big appetite. Aren't you afraid of being stuffed to death?" Although Yi Chen wouldn't really make a deal with Liang Fulong, he still had to say something. Furthermore, he had to say it reasonably. Liang Fulong didn't take Yi Chen's words, which were filled with murderous intent, to heart. He smiled faintly and said, "Liang Fulong doesn't have a big appetite. Besides, this dragon saliva fruit is only useful for people of lower cultivation realms. It doesn't have much use for Yi Yu of Gojoseon. Why is Yi Yu of Gojoseon so stingy? You have to pray that I don't rush into Fox Branch Mountain and that I don't catch you. Otherwise, you and the foxes of Fox Branch Mountain will suffer a fate worse than death." When Yi Chen heard this, his eyes filled with murderous intent as he coldly glanced at Liang Fulong through the Bagua mirror. Liang Fulong immediately smiled and cupped his fists. The great protective array of Fox Branch Mountain that cannot be broken by sky immortals is not as weak as you of Beak imagine. Liang, don't worry. When Yi Chen heard this, he gave Liang Fulong a deep look and instantly stabbed the Bagua mirror hanging on the wall with the Godslayer in his right hand. With a bang, the huge Bagua mirror instantly exploded into fragments that filled the sky. Then the fragments shot out and pierced the walls, the roof, and the ground in the blink of an eye. Looking at the messy hall, Yi Chen curled his lips in disdain. Even if you are as intelligent as a demon, you can't imagine that I have a way to break the great protective array of Fox Branch Mountain that cannot be broken by sky immortals. Thinking of this, Yi Chen smiled coldly. After that, his feet moved, and he instantly left the hall. After the time it took to brew a cup of tea, the members of the Nangong clan in Nangong town were all killed by Yi Chen. During this process, quite a few items dropped. There were also quite a few cultivation techniques. Unfortunately, most of them were just random things. Yi Chen did not care for them, so he just threw them away. Yi Chen did not care about who picked them up. After all, the value of the items dropped was not great. Although Yi Chen was still a little puzzled, he understood after thinking about Nangong Shursan's identity as a member of the Sorcerer Tribe. The strength of the Sorcerer Tribe lay in their sorcery and their physical bodies. In Yi Chen's previous life, the Nangong clan did not have the same resources as the Gongsun clan and the Li clan. However, they were still able to rise because of Nangong Shursan. Of course, the Nangong clan had completely disappeared from his world at this moment. As for who to blame, it was of course themselves. After all, the Nangong clan had schemed against Yi Chen. Regarding this, Yi Chen would not be merciful. In the sky, after confirming that there were no mystic realms in the Nangong town, Yi Chen left the Nangong clan's Nangong town. On the top of a mountain 500 miles west of Nangong town, the space suddenly distorted. In the next second, Yi Chen took a step forward and appeared there. Looking to the west, 100 miles away, at Fox Branch Mountain that was shrouded in clouds, Yi Chen moved his mind and saw a giant golden python appear on the top of the mountain in an instant. Looking at the golden python, Yi Chen's mouth twitched involuntarily. Damn it, in order to charge into Fox Branch Mountain, I really went all out. Chapter 778. Fox Branch Mountain had a protective formation that could not be broken by celestial immortals. Yi Chen could not break through the protective formation of Fox Branch Mountain with his current cultivation level. If Yi Chen wanted to enter Fox Branch Mountain, he would have to consume the blood of the golden python of the golden race and obtain some special ability. Yichen was still unable to determine what kind of ability it was, but that was not important. What was important was that as long as he swallowed the golden python's blood, Yichen would be able to avoid Fox Branch Mountain's protective array and directly enter Fox Branch Mountain. Although Yichen had made this judgment based on the deeds of the lucky person who had obtained the golden pig in his previous life, whether it was true or not was still up for debate. However, in Yichen's opinion, it was true. Thinking of this, Yichen raised his right hand and pointed his sword finger at the golden python on the ground. He then slashed the air. A green sword aura instantly flew out from Yichen's sword finger and cut straight at the golden python. Chi-la sound was heard. The golden python's golden scales and skin were instantly cut open by the sharp green lotus sword aura, revealing the golden flesh inside. At the same time, a strong fragrance instantly rose from the golden python's corpse. Yichen, who had smelled the fragrance, was stunned. Damn, the flesh of the golden python was F***king fragrant. Previously, when Yichen had rushed to the underground cave where the golden python was in order to obtain the heavenly book, he had deliberately sealed off his sense of smell because there were too many snakes in the cave and the stench was too strong. As a result, Yichen did not smell anything when he killed the golden python. Now, Yichen did not seal off his sense of smell, so he could naturally smell the unique fragrance coming from the golden python's flesh. This was good. It would save him from being disgusted, although it was still a little. Thinking of this, Yichen could not help but raise his eyebrows. Then, he opened his mouth and sucked in the golden python's wound. At this moment, the golden blood that flowed out from the golden python's wound turned into a thin line and flew directly toward Yichen. In the blink of an eye, it rushed into Yichen's mouth. The moment the golden blood entered Yichen's mouth, an indescribable feeling of comfort from food rose in Yichen's heart. Sensing this, Yichen was stunned again. Then his eyes lit up. Damn it, the golden race was definitely a top-grade ingredient. This taste was simply indescribable. It was likely that all the members of the Evolved clan were like this, and the higher the grade of the Evolved clan, the better the taste. Damn it, that must be it. When he had the chance in the future, he would catch more members of the race and give them to the chefs. The dishes made from them would definitely taste very good. Yichen was now in the Tribulation Transcendent stage. There would not be any problem if he did not eat or drink for 3 to 5 years. However, this did not mean that Yichen would not eat or drink. In fact, Yichen ate and drank. After all, eating and drinking was also a great enjoyment. Yichen did not intend to learn from the ascetic cultivator and throw away the enjoyment of eating and drinking so casually. The years of cultivation were long and boring. If he had to give up some things that he could enjoy, how meaningless would that be? Moreover, this did not conflict with the path that Yichen wanted to take, which was to prove his Tao through strength. Why should he give it up? It was precisely because of this that Yichen's food and drink were basically the best ingredients that could be obtained at the moment. For example, the dishes were all stir-fried with spear herbs. As for the wine, it was one of the top 10 wines in the elemental wilderness, the 100 Flowers wine. It could be said that the current Yichen was a little picky when it came to eating and drinking. In fact, even if Yichen was not picky, Yichen's women would not prepare ordinary meals for Yichen. This was because Yichen was the lord of reincarnation in Mortal City, Yu of Beach of the Great Han Empire, and the governor of Yuzhou. He had a noble status and was the most important person in the hearts of the women. They did not want to eat ordinary meals when Yichen returned home. When Yichen returned to reincarnation in Mortal City after the war and reunited with the women, he realized this. However, Yichen did not feel that it was a waste. Instead, he felt very warm. This was because the women wanted Yichen to be comfortable and enjoy everything from the bottom of their hearts. Of course, it was indeed a waste for ordinary players to eat and drink like this. After all, the current chefs were all from the mortal world. No matter how skilled they were, it was inevitable that some of the heaven and earth spiritual energy in the spirit herbs would be lost in the process of cooking. However, The problem was that Yi Chun had the ability to provide the women with such a waste at this moment. Don't forget that there was a spirit spring in Reincarnation City in the real world. Inside the spirit spring, there was a lake formed by the spirit spring. Now, countless spirit herbs had been planted in the lake, and there would be more and more of them. Of course, this was all thanks to the treasure-hunting fish, Yi Xiaoyu. To be more precise, the spirit herbs in the lake and on the shore of Reincarnation City in the real world were all plundered by the treasure-hunting fish, Yi Xiaoyu. However, this was not important. What was important was the result. Although Yi Chun did not have an endless supply of spirit herbs, there was no problem for Yi Chun to eat and drink. Moreover, this was not the most important thing. The most important thing was that the process of cultivating chefs, improving their skills, and promoting a chef from the mortal world to an immortal chef was also a process of waste. Once a chef from a mortal world became an immortal chef, the situation of wasting heaven and earth spiritual energy would no longer exist. Moreover, it would make the dishes more delicious and provide more heaven and earth spiritual energy. It was also because of this that Yi Chun did not feel the slightest bit of waste after discovering that the women were extravagantly preparing food and drinks for him. Of course, this was not important. What was important was that Yi Chun was now devouring the blood of the golden python and realized that the golden clan, or rather the evolutionary clan, had another function besides strengthening the body and improving the bone structure. It was a top-grade ingredient. It was also because of this new function of the flesh of the evolutionary clan that Yi Chun became more interested in the evolutionary clan. Damn it, I hope that the evolutionary clan will come and cause trouble for me soon. This way, I can catch more and tame a batch of them. Thinking of this, Yi Chun couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. Then, he continued to devour the golden python's blood. After the time it took to brew a cup of tea, Yi Chun had completely devoured the golden python's blood. Suddenly, an inexplicable fluctuation appeared in Yi Chun's body. At the same time, Yi Chun's already monstrous physical body and bone structure improved by a notch. Sensing this, Yi Chun nodded in satisfaction. The golden clan of the evolutionary clan could indeed improve the bone structure and strengthen the body. Not bad, not bad. As soon as Yi Chun thought of this, an inexplicable fluctuation appeared in Yi Chun's body, directly rushing to his eyes. Without waiting for Yi Chun to react, two extremely mysterious forces exploded in Yi Chun's eyes. At the same time, Yi Chun's eyes blazed, shooting out two golden light beams. As soon as Yi Chun thought of this, the system's prompt rang. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chun for obtaining the special divine ability, Golden Eyes, Fiery Eyes. Chapter 779. When the system notification ended, Yi Chun's eyes widened. Holy shit, what's going on? Without going through Taishang Laojuan's 8 trigrams furnace, how did he get the eyes of fire and gold so easily? It was no wonder that Yi Chun was so surprised. The eyes of fire and gold were Sun Wukong's trademark. Although Sun Wukong got it passively, the ability of the eyes of fire and gold was real. There was nothing fake about it. To be more precise, the eyes of fire and gold could easily see through demons and ghosts. Even if demons and ghosts took on human forms, they could not escape the detection of the eyes of fire and gold. And Sun Wukong became a fighter in the journey to the west and kept showing his power. It was more or less related to the eyes of fire and gold. If Sun Wukong did not have the eyes of fire and gold, he might not be able to show much of his power in the journey to the west. After all, the various demon kings in the journey to the west were not simple. If they could not see the true form of these demons, Tang Sanzang and the rest would definitely suffer a lot and be schemed against countless times. In the end, it was very likely that the journey to the west would fail, and they would be stewed and eaten. Originally, Yi Chun wanted to wait until after he ascended to the Eldritch world. When the journey to the west plot started, Sun Wukong would be caught in Taishang Laojuan's alchemy furnace. This way, Yi Chun could endure 49 days of roasting with Sun Wukong and get the eyes of fire and gold. As time passed, whether it was in the eldritch world or the real world, the demons would become stronger and stronger. Then they would gain the ability to take on human forms. To be more precise, if there were no accidents in the real world, the number of humans in the world would explode in another year. And the reason was because of the demon transformation. Of course, humans could still easily recognize the demons in the early stages of their transformation. After all, at the beginning, the demon's transformation was not complete. They either kept their wolf heads, bear claws, foxtails, and other parts of their original bodies. And when the demons could completely transform into human forms, human players could also recognize the transformed demons. This was because their ability to control their own demonic aura was not very good. However, this was only the initial stage. Later on, as the strength of the demon race increased, the demon race's ability to control their own demon chi would become stronger and stronger. At that time, it was basically impossible for the human players to identify the demons who had transformed into human beings, except for those who had special techniques, abilities, or treasures. This was because the shifter race would not release any shifter aura at this time. Even if a human player used their divine sense to investigate, they would not be able to detect anything unusual. In this way, there would be no problem for the demons to mix in with the humans. This was also the reason why Yi Chun wanted to obtain the eyes of fire and gold. One had to know that demons who could completely transform into humans could blend into the human world without being discovered. Yi Chun did not want to meet demons who liked to transform into human beings in the real world or the primeval world. How could he not tell? If that was the case, it was very likely that Yi Chun would fall into the trap of the fiend race who had taken human form. This was not an outcome that Yi Chun wanted to see. One had to know that Yi Chun was cruel, cold, and heartless. He killed countless people and killed countless demons. However, Yi Chun did not kill indiscriminately. If Yi Chun met a demon who had turned into human beings, he would not casually attack Yi Chun if he could not see its true form. Furthermore, this demon who had turned into human beings did not show any hostility towards Yi Chun. It was also because of this that Yi Chun wanted to obtain the eyes of fire and gold. Of course, this was what Yi Chun wanted to do after he ascended to the primeval world. But now, Yi Chun had easily obtained the eyes of fire and gold after swallowing the blood of the golden python. How could Yi Chun not be surprised? Of course, besides being surprised, he was also pleasantly surprised. Wait a minute, that's not right. F***CK, the lucky guy who obtained the golden pig in his previous life, did not have the eyes of fire and gold. How did I get the eyes of fire and gold? Was it because this golden python was not simple, or was it because the ability obtained from swallowing this golden python was random and coincidentally coincided with my great luck and exploded? Regardless of the reason, he had obtained the eyes of fire and gold. Thinking of this, Yi Chun could not help but raise his eyebrows. However, his face immediately stiffened. F***CK. Although it was great to obtain the eyes of fire and gold, what he needed the most now was the ability to directly break through Fox Branch Mountain's protective array, not the eyes of fire and gold. Thinking of this, Yi Chun hurriedly looked at the introduction of the eyes of fire and gold on the attribute panel. Eyes of fire and gold. Special ability. Ability to see through all illusions and point straight to the origin of all things. Special characteristics. 1. Weakness break. Once the eyes of fire and gold are used, they can see through the weaknesses of all tangible and intangible things. 2. Underseal. 3. Underseal for underseal. 5. Underseal. 6. Underseal. 6. After reading the attributes of the eyes of fire and gold, Yi Chun's eyes suddenly widened. F***CK. Are these F***king eyes of fire and gold? Regardless of whether they are or not, I'm feeling great this time. Haha, it was no wonder that Yi Chun was so excited. After all, the normal eyes of fire and gold could only see through the true form of demons and ghosts. However, the eyes of fire and gold that Yi Chun had obtained was a completely mutated and strengthened version. To be more precise, the basic ability of the eyes of fire and gold that Yi Chun had obtained was the ability of the normal eyes of fire and gold. It could make demons and ghosts unable to hide. But when it came to the last few characteristics, it was completely different. Although only the weakness break special characteristic had been revealed, it was this special characteristic that gave Yi Chun the ability to charge directly into Fox Branch Mountain. After all, the weakness break could see through all weaknesses. Since the protective array of Fox Branch Mountain could be breached by the divine dog of Yi Chun's previous life, as well as the lucky dog of the human tribe, there must be a weakness. Otherwise, that man and dog would not have been able to enter Fox Branch Mountain and do such a shocking thing. It was also because of this that Yi Chun could rely on the eyes of fire and gold, or rather the first special characteristic of the eyes of fire and gold, to charge directly into Fox Branch Mountain. And this was also the reason why Yi Chun was so excited. After all, Yi Chun had come here to kill Liang Fulong. Of course, he had also brought along the opportunity to snatch the supreme treasure of the fox tribe, the nine-tailed celestial fox fan. And now, the basic conditions have been met. How could Yi Chun not be happy? How could he not be excited? Of course, Yi Chun's happiness had a lot to do with the mutated and strengthened version of the eyes of fire and gold. One had to know that Yi Chun's eyes of fire and gold had only revealed one special characteristic. There were still 4 other special characteristics that were sealed. If all 4 special characteristics were unlocked, Yi Chun's eyes of fire and gold mystique would be among the top mystiques, even if it was not the strongest. In fact, just the first special characteristic of Yi Chun's eyes of fire and gold alone was enough to make Yi Chun excited. One had to know that just the ability to see through all weaknesses would allow Yi Chun to have an innate advantage when fighting with his enemies after ascending to the Eldritch World. After all, Yi Chun's eyes of fire and gold could see through all weaknesses. No matter who he was facing, Yi Chun would be able to see the opponent's weakness. Then, he would be able to target the opponent's weakness and attack directly. In this way, no matter who went up against Yi Chun, they would definitely be suppressed to the point of no return. At this thought, the corners of Yi Chun's mouth curled up involuntarily. Damn, it was all thanks to that idiot Liang Fulong. Otherwise, Luo Yinyang would not have eaten this golden python. If he had not eaten this golden python, he would not have discovered the attributes of the top ingredients of the evolved tribe, let alone obtain such a perverted eyes of fire and gold. Chapter 780. Thinking of this, Yi Chun could not help but smirk. With a wave of his right hand, he instantly kept the bloodless golden python into his small world. The golden python's blood could bring about special abilities or special abilities, while its meat could strengthen one's body and improve one's bone structure. Yi Chun naturally would not throw away the golden python. After all, Yi Chun still had many subordinates, many women, and 4 pets. No matter who ate it, they would be able to obtain a qualitative improvement. As for Yi Chun's subordinates, be it women or pets, once their physical strength and bone structure improved, it would naturally speed up their cultivation and increase their strength rapidly. This was naturally a good thing for Yi Chun. Therefore, Yi Chun could not turn a blind eye to the golden python's meat after obtaining the mutated and enhanced version of the fiery golden eyes. Glancing at the golden python in his small world, Yi Chun smiled and looked directly at the cloud-shrouded Fox Branch Mountain 100 miles away. It was time. Thinking of this, Yi Chun's mind stirred, and the space in front of him instantly distorted. After taking a look at the distorted space, Yi Chun stepped in and disappeared. Fox Branch Mountain was 18,000 meters tall, 200,000 meters from east to west, and 183,000 meters from north to south. It was lush and verdant, and there were countless giant trees that required 10 people to wrap their arms around. Coupled with the clouds surrounding Fox Branch Mountain, it was like a paradise on Earth. Of course, this was before the meteor fell. If it were now, although environments like Fox Branch Mountain were not everywhere, there were still quite a few. After all, after the meteor fell, the earth became countless times larger. Flowers, plants, and trees grew crazily, and the land became a huge forest that stretched as far as the eye could see. This situation wouldn't change much even in the later stages of the game. Firstly, there was no need. Secondly, doing so would damage the world's spiritual energy. Be it humans or demons, no one wanted to see such a situation happen. Even if the world's spiritual energy in the real world was becoming stronger every day, no human or demon would be so stupid as to deliberately destroy the environment. Of course, the destruction caused by fighting was an exception. Even so, the flowers and trees would quickly regrow and bloom again. However, this was not important. What was important was that Fox Branch Mountain was the territory of the Fox clan. No Fae or human dared to set foot within a radius of 50 kilometers. However, this situation had changed not long ago. Liang Fulong, in his human form, had arrived here and successfully entered Fox Branch Mountain. And today, this situation was going to be broken again because Yichen was here. Just as a little fox with pale yellow fur emerged from a watery barrier and appeared at the foot of Fox Branch Mountain, the space at the foot of the mountain suddenly distorted. Then, a young man took a step forward and appeared there. When the little fox with light yellow fur saw the young man, its round fox eyes widened abruptly. Then, its body involuntarily tensed up, and its light yellow fox fur stood up with a bang in an instant. This was caused by extreme fright, and it was the truth. The little fox recognized the young man's identity. He was the #1 human who had killed 99% of the demons during the Golden Turban Rebellion, Yichun. It had seen Yichen's power with its own eyes and knew how terrifying Yichun was. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been so frightened the moment it saw Yichun. Lord Yi, I came to make a deal with you. The little fox with light yellow fur did its best to steady its frightened and trembling heart. Then, it looked at Yichun and stammered, Lord Yi, I came to make a deal with you. Yichun glanced at the little fox when he heard this. Then, he bent his right hand and pointed at the little fox. Boom, 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 boom. At the same time, a bolt of blue lightning as thick as an arm appeared out of thin air and struck the little fox. Boom! The light yellow-furred little fox's pupils constricted as it was struck by lightning and exploded. Charred chunks of flesh splattered in all directions. Yichen curled his lip in disdain when he saw the charred chunks of flesh splattered everywhere. Previously, Yichun had agreed to make a deal with Liang Fulong to buy time so that Liang Fulong wouldn't be able to use the secret scroll of demon transformation in time. Of course, Yichun had also done that to gain the ability to break through Fox Branch Mountain's protective array and buy time. Now that Yichun had been strengthened and had a mutated version of the fiery eyes of truth, he naturally didn't need to continue buying time. In this way, how could Yichun be in the mood to waste time with this little fox of Fox Branch Mountain? In Yichen's opinion, all the foxes of Fox Branch Mountain had to die. After all, the Fox Clan leader had taken in Liang Fulong. No matter what the Fox Clan leader's motive was, its actions had already angered Yichun. Yichun would only choose one way to deal with such an existence, and that was to kill them all. At this thought, Yichen's eyes narrowed, and a cold glint of killing intent flashed across them. In the next second, Yichen's eyes opened wide. In that instant, 2 balls of flames emerged from Yichen's eyes. Then, a golden light burst out from Yichen's eyes. At the same time, an extremely mysterious aura emanated from Yichen's eyes. Yichun smiled faintly when he felt the sensation coming from his eyes after using the fiery eyes of truth. Then, he looked straight at Fox Branch Mountain. More accurately, he was looking at the protective array of Fox Branch Mountain that couldn't be seen with the naked eye. In that instant, the protective array of Fox Branch Mountain, which was originally in a static state without any trace, instantly appeared in Yichen's line of sight. At the same time, hundreds of red dots appeared in Yichen's line of sight. The largest red dots were the size of a wash basin, while the smallest was only the size of a grain of rice. Their positions were constantly changing every second. When Yichen saw this, he was slightly taken aback. He instantly realized what the constantly changing red dots were. To be more precise, those constantly changing red dots of different sizes were the weak points of Fox Branch Mountain's protective array. He didn't expect that the first characteristic of the fiery eyes of truth would be so useful. It directly saw through the protective array of Fox Branch Mountain that celestial immortals couldn't break. It looked like his previous judgment was correct. In his previous life, the lucky fellow who had obtained the golden pig and was able to break into Fox Branch Mountain had obtained an ability similar to the first characteristic of the fiery eyes of truth. It was a pity that this fellow's strength wasn't good enough and couldn't resist the pursuit of the evolvers. Otherwise, he would definitely be able to rely on this ability to rise rapidly. However, in this life, it was his turn to be the first to hunt down the golden pig. He even obtained the fiery eyes of truth because of this. When the time came, if the evolvers really ran to Samsara City to cause trouble because of the hatred mark, that would be even better at that time. No matter how many of them came, he would catch all of them. He wouldn't let a single one of them go. The flesh and blood of the evolvers could strengthen the physical body and improve the bone structure. It was also a top-grade food ingredient. Most importantly, if Yichun wanted to improve his fiery eyes of truth and unlock the seals of the later characteristics, it was very likely that he would need the blood of the evolvers. After all, Yichun's fiery eyes of truth had been obtained from the golden python of the evolvers. It was also for this reason that Yichun liked to see the evolvers seek revenge on Yichun because of hatred. Thinking of this, Yichun couldn't help but raise his eyebrows and look directly at Fox Branch Mountain's protective array. In the next second, Yichun directly soared into the air and rushed toward the largest red dot on Fox Branch Mountain's protective array. The moment Yichun touched the red dot, a weak resistance appeared in an instant. Then, layers of ripples suddenly appeared in the sky. Seeing this, Yichun narrowed his eyes. Then, he formed a palm with his right hand and stabbed toward the center of the ripples. With a poochie sound, Yichun's right hand effortlessly stabbed into the ripples. Seeing this, Yichun nodded in satisfaction. Then, his body collided with the ripples and instantly disappeared without a trace. At the foot of the Fox Branch Mountain, a group of foxes were discussing something. At this moment, a fox that had suddenly yawned suddenly froze and then rubbed its eyes in disbelief. When it saw the young man who had suddenly appeared in Fox Branch Mountain's protective array again, its eyes suddenly shrank and it screamed, Yichun! Yichun has killed his way in. Chapter 781. After confirming that Yichun had rushed into Fox Branch Mountain, the foxes at the foot of the mountain were stunned as soon as they landed. Then, they looked up at the sky in unison. In the next second, all the foxes were stunned before their eyes widened. At this moment, an unbelievable thought involuntarily appeared in the hearts of all the foxes. What a joke! This was Fox Branch Mountain. There was an unbreakable mountain-protecting array outside. How could Yichun rush in? However, the problem was that their eyes did not deceive them. Yichun had indeed entered. With his strength at the Tribulation Transcendent stage, he had rushed into the unbreakable Fox Branch Mountain in their hearts. After coming back to their senses, the foxes were first shocked before an endless chill rose in their hearts. They were waiting at the foot of the mountain to receive the fox that had been ordered to make a deal with Yichun. Therefore, they were very clear about the matter of Fox Branch Mountain going up against Yichun. Although this was only a deal, no matter how stupid they were, they knew that Fox Branch Mountain's approach would attract Yichun's displeasure. As for the consequences of making Yichun unhappy, they might have only been worried in the past, but they wouldn't have been afraid. After all, Fox Branch Mountain's mountain-protecting array was indeed very powerful. Even if Yichun was very brutal, very powerful, and very perverted, so what? As long as Fox Branch Mountain's mountain-protecting array couldn't be broken by celestial immortals, they would be safe. At most, they wouldn't go out. But now, they couldn't help but be afraid. This was because Yi Chun had rushed in and was right in front of them. How could they still be as at ease as before? One had to know that many of these foxes had personally seen Yi Chun's brutal methods when he killed the demon player army in the game world. As for the other foxes who hadn't seen Yi Chun make a move, they had heard many rumors about Yi Chun from their fellow clansmen. To be precise, they had heard about how brutal, perverted, and powerful Yi Chun was. It was precisely because of this that these foxes could not remain calm after confirming that Yi Chun had indeed rushed to Fox Branch Mountain. In the sky, Yi Chun glanced at the small group of foxes beneath his feet, curled his lips in disdain, and then raised his right hand. At this moment, a sharp shriek suddenly came from the mouth of a fox. "Run!" When the frightened foxes heard this scream, they all shuddered, and then saw that they all ran away at the same time. They were very smart and knew that they could not run in the same direction. Otherwise, they would be caught by Yi Chun. Some of the foxes were smarter and knew that Fox Branch Mountain was in danger. Without any hesitation, they rushed towards the mountain-protecting array. No matter which direction the foxes ran in, they all had the same thought in their hearts. That was to run away quickly and stay far away from Yi Chun. Otherwise, they would end up very miserable. In the sky, Yi Chun, who had just raised his hand, smiled coldly when he saw the foxes on the ground scatter and flee. Then, with a thought, he instantly released his enormous consciousness, enveloping the entire Fox Branch Mountain in an instant. Yi Chun released his consciousness to prevent the other foxes of Fox Branch Mountain from escaping after receiving the news. To be precise, Yi Chun wanted to start a massacre in Fox Branch Mountain, not giving any of the foxes of Fox Branch Mountain a chance to live, let alone allowing any of them to successfully escape. If there was anything to blame it on the fact that the foxes of Fox Branch Mountain were the Demon Clan and were Yi Chun's enemies. Yi Chun only had one way to deal with his enemies, and that was to kill them all. Of course, this was not the main purpose of Yi Chun releasing his consciousness at this moment. To be precise, Yi Chun's main purpose of releasing his consciousness was to lock onto Liang Fulong and the Fox Clan leader of Fox Branch Mountain. After all, Yi Chun had come to Fox Branch Mountain to kill Liang Fulong. At the same time, he also wanted to take away the supreme treasure of the Fox Clan, the nine-tailed celestial fox fan. If the Fox Clan leader of Fox Branch Mountain and Liang Fulong escaped, wouldn't Yi Chun's trip be in vain? It was also because he didn't want to see this outcome that Yi Chun directly released his consciousness to cover the entire Fox Branch Mountain. After a breath, Yi Chun's eyes suddenly opened and a cold light flashed instantly. Found it! With that thought, Yi Chun raised his right hand and grabbed the ground. At this moment, an extremely strong suction force instantly appeared in Yi Chun's right hand. Then, at the foot of Fox Branch Mountain, the fleeing foxes stopped at the same time. At this moment, the pupils of all the fleeing foxes constricted at the same time. Then, they saw that they were uncontrollably flying toward Yi Chun. Squeak, squeak, squeak. The chaotic screams of the foxes instantly sounded. The foxes that were caught in the air screamed as they frantically kicked their four fox legs. They didn't want to break free from the invisible force exerted on them, but it was useless. No matter how they kicked or screamed, it didn't help. Their movements of being caught in the air were not disturbed at all. In just a breath's time, all the fleeing foxes were forcibly gathered together by Yi Chun and then stopped in midair. Glancing at the foxes that were forcibly gathered together, Yi Chun clenched his right hand into the air. Bang, bang, bang. A series of sounds of bodies exploding rang out in an instant. The foxes that were caught in the air by Yi Chun and then gathered in midair were all forcibly crushed by the violent force without exception. The frightened screams of the foxes also came to an abrupt end at this moment. At this moment, blood splattered everywhere and flesh and blood splattered everywhere. Yi Chun glanced at the pieces of flesh and blood splattered on the ground, as well as the large and small clumps of blood and organs, and then looked up at the peak of Fox Branch Mountain. In the next second, Yi Chun directly flew toward the peak of Fox Branch Mountain at a rapid speed. At the peak of Fox Branch Mountain, in a pure wood hall that was filled with a primitive flavor, a snow-white adult fox sat on a stone bench. After glancing at the dying fox in the center of the hall, it then looked at the human man with a goatee sitting in the guest seat and said, "I always keep my word. Since you're worried, I'll let you become a member of the Fox clan of Fox Branch Mountain first. However, there's something I have to say to you again. Demons talk about bloodline and race. Once you become a member of the Fox clan of Fox Branch Mountain, you have to work hard for Fox Branch Mountain and contribute everything. Otherwise, not only will my Fox Branch Mountain not tolerate you, even the other demon clans will not tolerate you. Don't worry, clan leader. As long as I become a member of the Fox clan of Fox Branch Mountain, I will definitely work hard for Fox Branch Mountain and clan leader." When a human man with a goatee heard this, he did not hesitate to bow to the snow-white adult fox. When the snow-white adult fox heard this, it nodded its head in satisfaction and said, "Don't be impatient to seek revenge. You don't have to be in a hurry to take revenge, and you don't have to worry that you won't be able to take revenge. That Yi Chun is a great enemy of my demon race. After I ascend to the great desolate world, I will definitely find the experts of my fox race to avenge you. At that time, even if that Yi Chun has 1,000 methods and abilities, he won't be able to survive in the hands of the mighty figures of the demon clan." When a human man with a goatee heard this, he was immediately overjoyed. Then he bowed solemnly to the snow-white fox sitting on the stone bench. "Yes, clan leader. Let's begin." When the fox with snow-white fur heard this, it nodded. Then it pointed at the fox lying in the hall who had not completely stopped breathing and said, right at this moment, an extremely fast figure suddenly flew into the main hall from outside. When the snow-white fox saw this figure, it was stunned. As for the human man with a goatee, his expression changed drastically. In the next second, the figure disappeared. Yi Chun, who was filled with violent killing intent, appeared in the hall. The eyes of the snow-white fox sitting on the stone bench shrank the moment she saw Yi Chun. She then stood up with a tongue and cried out in surprise, "Brother Yi Chun! Yi Chun, how did you get in?" Chapter 782. The snow-white fox that stood up in shock because of Yi Chun's sudden arrival was none other than the Fox clan leader of Fox Branch Mountain. The goateed man in the hall was none other than Liang Fulong, whom Yi Chun was determined to kill. Neither Liang Fulong nor the Fox clan leader of Fox Branch Mountain had expected Yi Chun to break through Fox Branch Mountain's protective array and rush directly into Fox Branch Mountain. After all, Fox Branch Mountain's protective array was so powerful that even a sky immortal could forget about breaking through it. However, the problem was that Yi Chun, who was only in the Tribulation Transcendence realm, had really rushed in and was right in front of them. How could this not shock the Fox clan leader of Fox Branch Mountain and Liang Fulong? Of course, after the shock, there was also a strong sense of fear. At this moment, both the Fox clan leader of Fox Branch Mountain and Liang Fulong felt their heartbeats accelerate without exception. Then, they couldn't help but shiver. After Yi Chun heard the Fox clan leader of Fox Branch Mountain's exclamation, he glanced at him and then looked straight at Liang Fulong, whose expression was constantly changing. However, before Yi Chun could speak, Liang Fulong bowed to Yi Chun and said loudly, "Greetings. Greetings, Lord Yu of Beach." When Yi Chun heard this, he smiled coldly and waved his right hand. The Khanate Cardinal Treasure Godslayer instantly appeared in his right hand. When the Fox clan leader, who was standing in front of the stone bench, saw Yi Chun summon the Godslayer without saying a word, his fox eyes suddenly narrowed. At this moment, an extreme danger involuntarily appeared in the Fox clan leader's heart. After coming back to his senses, the Fox clan leader raised his right claw without even thinking. A fan with a unique design with 9 slender tails on the handle instantly appeared in front of the Fox clan leader. Yi Chun, who was about to directly kill Liang Fulong, widened his eyes when he saw this. The 9-tailed celestial fox fan. Damn it, Why did the Fox clan leader refine the nine-tailed fox fan? In his previous life, Yichen had once seen the Fox clan leader of Fox Branch Mountain use the nine-tailed celestial fox fan. He naturally knew what the nine-tailed celestial fox fan was like. It was also because of this reason that Yichen instantly recognized the origin of the nine-tailed celestial fox fan when he saw the Fox clan leader of Fox Branch Mountain summon it. Originally, Yi Chun thought that the nine-tailed celestial fox fan had been placed in a secret place by the Fox clan leader of Fox Branch Mountain. He would only take it out when he wanted to use it. It had to be known that although the nine-tailed heavenly fox fan was a supreme treasure of the Fox clan, it was basically impossible for the Fox clan leader of Fox Branch Mountain to refine it, make it recognize him as its master, store it in his sea of consciousness, and then use it as he pleased like how Yi Chun used the God Slayer. Of course, it was possible to use it. After all, the nine-tailed celestial fox fan was a treasure exclusive to the Fox clan. As long as one was a fox and had demonic power in their body, it was possible to use it. However, it was impossible to store the nine-tailed celestial fox fan in one sea of consciousness and then use it as he pleased without refining it and acknowledging him as its master. And the crux of the problem was that the originally impossible had become possible. The Fox clan leader of Fox Branch Mountain had really directly summoned the nine-tailed celestial fox fan. This was enough to prove one thing, and that was that the Fox clan leader of Fox Branch Mountain had already started refining the nine-tailed celestial fox fan. Otherwise, it was impossible for such a result to occur. At this stage, only the enlightenment stones in the hands of human players could allow the players of the three clans to speed up the refinement of treasures and make them recognize him as their master. Damn it, it must be that bastard Liang Fulong who got the enlightenment stones from the Nangong clan and gave them to the Fox clan leader of Fox Branch Mountain. Otherwise, how could this old fox possibly refine the nine-tailed celestial fox fan? It was no wonder that Yichen thought so. After all, Liang Fulong was a native of the novice area of the Three Kingdoms. Moreover, he was a superclass historical scholar with the title of Hidden Dragon. He was as wise as a demon. Such an existence was not like the players who still had a smattering of knowledge about the Enlightenment Stones and did not know its specific effects. Of course, the premise was that Liang Fulong had come into contact with the Enlightenment Stones and used them. Then, what was the result? Of course, it was certain. If Liang Fulong had not come into contact with and used the Enlightenment Stones, how could the Fox clan leader possibly refine the nine-tailed celestial fox fan at the Yao Realm? Snatched it from the hands of human players? That was impossible. This was because there was no human gathering place or safe city within a radius of 300 miles of Fox Branch Mountain. Of course, this was not the key point. The key point was that during the Golden Turban Rebellion, when the Yao players invaded the novice area of the Three Kingdoms, they were plowed by Yi Chun, and their realms all fell to the Beast Realm. Under such a realm, unless the Fox clan leader was an idiot, it was impossible for him to lead his clansmen to attack a human gathering place, because if he did that, he would be delivering himself to the enemy. It should be known that although the human players suffered a lot during the Golden Turban Rebellion and the Yao invasion storyline, the number of players who gained benefits was not small. Basically, it could be said that all the human gathering places or safe cities had people in the innate realm, and there were quite a few of them. And for such people, if they wanted to kill ferocious beasts, it would be a piece of cake. It was also because of this reason that the Fox clan leader could not lead his clansmen to attack a human gathering place or a safe city. That way, how could he snatch the Enlightenment Stones from the hands of the players? Therefore, the result was self-evident. The Enlightenment Stones were obtained by Liang Fulong for the Fox clan leader. As for Liang Fulong's purpose, it was actually to gain the trust of the Fox clan leader of Fox Branch Mountain, so as to remove all obstacle for his plan to change his destiny. If Yi Chun was still doubtful that Liang Fulong had only used the dragon saliva fruit to move the Fox clan leader of Fox Branch Mountain, then now, Yi Chun completely understood why the Fox clan leader of Fox Branch Mountain acted abnormally and did not immediately kill Liang Fulong when he saw him. Instead, He accepted Liang Fulong without hesitation. To be more precise, the key to all of this was the enlightenment stones. Because no matter how many dragon saliva fruits there were, it was not as useful to the Fox clan leader of Fox Branch Mountain as refining the nine-tailed celestial fox fan. It should be known that the nine-tailed celestial fox fan, which could be used at will, allowed the Fox clan leader to use the nine-tailed celestial fox fan at any time. This way, the Fox clan leader of Fox Branch Mountain could increase his strength by an entire level at any time and place. Furthermore, one should not forget what the basic ability of the nine-tailed celestial fox fan was. It was the ability to directly summon the nine-tailed celestial fox. Although he had only summoned a nine-tailed heavenly fox in its soul state, it was still a nine-tailed heavenly fox with the ghost immortal realm cultivation. This was the reason why the Fox clan leader of Fox Branch Mountain had accepted Liang Fulong, who had contributed the enlightenment stones. After all, the Fox clan leader's safety would be greatly increased after refining the nine-tailed celestial fox fan. Of course, this was also the fundamental reason why Yi Chun nearly cursed out loud when he saw the Fox clan leader summon the nine-tailed celestial fox fan from his sea of consciousness. After all, Yi Chun was currently only at the tribulation transcending stage, whereas the nine-tailed celestial fox that he had summoned was a ghost immortal. There was simply no comparison between the two. As for the reason, it was actually not complicated. After all, immortals were immortals because they had completely broken away from the mortal attribute and possessed the ability to transcend mortality. As for Yi Chun, no matter how strong he was currently only a mortal at the tribulation transcending stage. His body was still that of a mortal. How could such a person like Yi Chun compare to an immortal? Even if this immortal was only a ghost immortal and could not be mentioned in the same breath as a human immortal or demon immortal, it was still an immortal. It was not something that a tribulation transcending stage like Yi Chun could compare to. This was a fundamental difference. No matter how many treasures Yi Chun had, there was no way he could avoid this. As for Yi Chun's ability to kill the celestial hound that was comparable to a celestial immortal in the underground palace secret realm, that was because Yi Chun had made use of the bug where the celestial hound was stuck in the summoning channel and could not come out. Otherwise, when Yi Chun had faced the celestial hound back then, there was a 99% chance that Yi Chun would have been chased to the ends of the earth by the celestial hound. He might even have been killed by the celestial hound. This was not Yi Chun showing weakness, nor was it that Yi Chun was timid. It was the truth. After all, Yi Chun's strength was there for all to see. If Yi Chun could dominate the untainted land with the Godslayer, the five-element spiritual pearl, or the treasureful money, then Yi Chun would not have to spend so much effort to rob this and that, and then use all his strength to build an empire of providence that belonged to Yi Chun. This was the case for Yi Chun. If it were in the untainted land, there would be no difference. One had to know that in the untainted land, there were many pitiful people who had obtained connate spiritual treasures, but were still killed and robbed of their connate spiritual treasures and connate cardinal treasures. For example, Xiao Shun, who controlled the treasureful money, Zhao Gongming, who had 24C calming pearls, and so on. No matter who killed them or why they were killed, and then robbed of their treasures, one thing was clear. These existences were much stronger than Yi Chun at the moment, and they all had connate treasures on them. More importantly, the connate treasures they possessed had all been refined to a very high degree, or even completely refined. As for Yi Chun, he had only just refined the connate treasures on him. He could not compare to these existences. It was also because of this that Yi Chun had become serious about the Fox clan leader of Fox Branch Mountain refining the nine-tailed celestial fox fan. In fact, Yi Chun had originally wanted to catch the Fox clan leader of Fox Branch Mountain off guard and kill him directly, because in this way, Yi Chun could easily snatch the nine-tailed celestial fox fan. Who would have thought that the result would be completely out of Yi Chun's expectations? The Fox clan leader of Fox Branch Mountain had actually F*** King refine the nine-tailed celestial fox fan. Of course, it was only in the preliminary stages of refining. Yi Chun was very sure of this. One had to know that Yi Chun had wasted so many Tao comprehension stones to refine the connate spiritual treasure fire spirit pearl, but he had only refined a little. As for the Fox clan leader of Fox Branch Mountain, even if he could get the Tao comprehension stones in the hands of the human players through Liang Fulong, the number could not be that high. After all, 99% of the Tao comprehension stones in the hands of the human players have been directly plundered by Yi Chun in the name of auctioning. Of course, this was not important. What was important was that the Fox clan leader had refined the nine-tailed celestial fox fan. This result would bring a lot of trouble to Yi Chun. Fortunately, the nine-tailed celestial fox that was summoned by the nine-tailed celestial fox fan was only a soul. Otherwise, it would be really troublesome. Wait, could this F*** be part of Liang Fulong's plan as well? F***CK. It really could be. Just as Yi Chun thought of this, the Snow White Fox clan leader's right claw slapped the nine-tailed celestial fox fan floating in front of him. Buzz! With a sound, a layer of silver-white halo instantly appeared on the nine-tailed celestial fox fan. Then it directly turned into ripples and vibrated out layer by layer. At the same time, Liang Fulong, who was in the center of the hall, couldn't help but smile. Then, with a wave of his right hand, a jade scroll instantly appeared in his hand. Sensing Liang Fulong's action, Yi Chun's eyes widened abruptly. Then, he roared, "Liang Fulong, you still want to escape?" As soon as Yi Chun's words fell, a violent killing intent instantly boiled. Then, without thinking, he pointed his left hand at Liang Fulong. Boom! Boom! Thunder that shook heaven and earth instantly sounded. A blood-red lightning bolt that was as thick as an arm appeared out of thin air. Then, it directly struck Liang Fulong's body. At this moment, incomparably dense, explosive sounds directly sounded from Liang Fulong's body. At the same time, a deep roar that penetrated through time instantly sounded. Roar! In the next second, a huge fox with snow-white body, crimson eyes, and 9 long fox tails appeared out of thin air in the hall. At this moment, a huge, celestial immortal aura directly erupted and spread out in all directions. Looking at the 9-tailed fox that suddenly appeared in the hall and feeling the aura emitted from its body, Yi Chun's eyes suddenly shrank. The 9-tailed celestial fox. Moreover, it was a 9-tailed celestial fox that was in the celestial immortal realm. How could this be? Chapter 783. Yi Chun would never have thought that the 9-tailed celestial fox summoned by the 9-tailed celestial fox fan in the hall was not the 9-tailed celestial fox of the human immortal realm from his previous life, but the 9-tailed celestial fox of the celestial immortal realm. If the former could be said to be troublesome for Yi Chun, then the latter would be a headache for Yi Chun. This was a 9-tailed celestial fox of the celestial immortal realm, and it was one without any restrictions. Yi Chun could not summon such an existence again like he did in the underground palace mystic realm, when he used the bug to subdue the howling celestial dog. In this way, Yi Chun would have to withstand the attack of the 9-tailed celestial fox of the celestial immortal realm. And with Yi Chun's current tribulation stage realm, he could not even guarantee that he would be able to withstand the attack of a human immortal. How could he withstand the attack of a celestial immortal? It cannot be helped. This was the gap between realms. Even if Yi Chun was now the most powerful person in the human clan, it was useless. What the hell was going on? Why did the 9-tailed celestial fox of the human immortal realm become a celestial immortal? Damn it. It did not make sense at all. Originally, Yi Chun thought that the 9-tailed celestial fox of the celestial fox of his previous life would only have the strength of a human immortal. Although this would bring some trouble to Yi Chun, it was not that Yi Chun could not resist it. After all, the 9-tailed celestial fox of the celestial fox of the ghost clan was a soul. Strictly speaking, such an existence was a ghost immortal. Although its realm was comparable to a human immortal of the human clan, it was only comparable. If it really fought against a human immortal or a demon immortal of the same realm, it would most likely lose. This was the result of the rules of heaven and earth. Otherwise, there would not be a situation where the ghost clan was always suppressed by the human clan or the demon clan of the same realm. It was also for this reason that the attack power of the nine-tailed celestial fox, of the celestial immortal realm, was ranked the lowest. In this way, Yi Chun, who was about to step into the human immortal realm, still had a chance to withstand the nine-tailed celestial fox's attack. Of course, he would definitely be injured. However, Yi Chun, who had the 9 revolutions mystic art, would definitely not be killed by the nine-tailed celestial fox, who was essentially a ghost immortal. This way, Yi Chun would have a very high chance of surviving the maximum time limit that a nine-tailed celestial fox can exist. As for Yi Chun, once he passed the maximum time limit for a nine-tailed fox, the nine-tailed fox would automatically disappear. In that case, the rest would be simple. As for the nine-tailed celestial fox has a time limit, it was actually not difficult to understand. One had to know that the nine-tailed fox was summoned through the nine-tailed fox fan, and the person who used the nine-tailed fox fan was the Fox Clan leader of Fox Branch Mountain. With Fox Branch Mountain's Fox Clan leader's current demonic beast realm, he could at most allow the nine-tailed heavenly fox to exist for a few seconds. It was also because of this reason that Yi Chun did not immediately leave after sensing that the Fox Clan leader of Fox Branch Mountain had directly used the nine-tailed celestial fox fan. However, the reality was beyond Yi Chun's expectations. The nine-tailed celestial fox fan had summoned a nine-tailed celestial fox that had the strength of a celestial immortal. Damn it, could it be that he had to summon the howling celestial dog? The howling celestial dog had already recognized Yi Chun as its master. If Yi Chun wanted to summon the howling celestial dog, be it in the game world or the real world, he only needed a thought to do it. At first glance, it looked very simple and easy. As long as he summoned the howling celestial dog, everything would be resolved. There was no need to waste so much time. However, in reality, that was not the case at all. One had to know that the howling celestial dog was a native of the primordial world. If Yi Chun directly summoned the howling celestial dog, the summoning power would definitely appear in the primordial world. In this way, many mighty figures in the primordial world would sense the summoning power. If it were other mighty figures, it would not be a big deal. However, if the one who sensed this summoning power was a mighty figure of the demon clan, then the howling celestial dog would definitely be regarded as a traitor by the demon clan. Then, it would be hunted down by the entire demon clan. In this way, Yi Chun's plan of using the howling celestial dog to plunder the primordial world in advance would be ruined. It was also for this reason that when Yi Chun saw the Fox Clan leader of Fox Branch Mountain use the nine-tailed celestial fox fan, he did not even consider the possibility of summoning the howling celestial dog. However, now, Yi Chun could not help but think that way. The nine-tailed celestial fox fan had summoned a nine-tailed celestial fox that was comparable to a celestial immortal. If Yi Chun was hit by a celestial immortal, it would be a great blessing if he was seriously injured. The most likely possibility was that he would die immediately. Just as Yi Chun thought of this, Liang Fulong, who was attacked by the blood-red lightning, suddenly let out a shrill cry. Roar! In the next second, Liang Fulong roared at the sky with a face full of disbelief. I clearly have a protective treasure and an invincible jade slip. Why is it useless? Why is it useless? I can't accept this. I can't accept this. As soon as Liang Fulong finished speaking, a violent explosion suddenly sounded. Boom! Liang Fulong, who was struck by the blood-red lightning, instantly burst into flames. Then, a blood-red lotus appeared in the hall and quickly bloomed. When Yi Chun heard this, he sneered. Idiot, betraying the human race will definitely lead to great karma. In this state, after being struck by the red karmic fire lightning, you still want to live? You're dreaming. Just as Yi Chun thought of this, the Fox Clan leader of Fox Branch Mountain, who was standing in front of the stone bench, pointed his right claw at Yi Chun and roared. Kill this human. As soon as the Fox Clan leader of Fox Branch Mountain said this, Yi Chun's face immediately darkened. Just as Ichan made up his mind to summon the howling celestial dog to fight against the nine-tailed celestial fox, the nine-tailed celestial fox, who was floating in the hall, suddenly looked at Liang Fulong, who was being burned by the red lotus karmic fire. Then, she let out an extremely surprised cry. Eh? The nine-tailed celestial fox's voice was like the sound of nature. It was mellow and pleasant to the ear. Even Yi Chun, who had a heart of steel and was as violent as fire, felt lost for a moment when he heard it. He wanted to listen. He wanted to continue listening, and he wanted to personally answer the nine-tailed celestial fox's doubts. These were the thoughts that suddenly appeared in Yi Chen's mind. Fortunately, Yi Chen had been reborn and had experienced too many things in his previous life. That was why he was able to regain his senses after being lost for a moment. At this moment, Liang Fulong, who had been burned by the red lotus karmic fire and no longer looked human, suddenly looked at Yi Chen and roared. Yi Chen, Liang is waiting for you below. After regaining his senses, Yi Chen curled his lips in disdain when he heard this. Idiot, you're still waiting below? Wait my ass. After being burned by the red lotus karmic fire, your soul is destined to be destroyed. You want to have a next life? Dream on. Just as Yi Chen thought of this, he suddenly froze. Wait a minute, why didn't the nine-tailed celestial fox attack me? The summoned nine-tailed celestial fox was fully capable of killing Yi Chen in one blow. It was also for this reason that Yi Chen had made up his mind to summon the howling celestial dog. Although Yi Chen was very tempted to plunder the resources of the primordial world in advance, this was nothing compared to Yi Chen's life. However, the problem was that the nine-tailed celestial fox's sudden roar caused Yi Chen's primordial spirit to become agitated, and he almost got lost. As a result, Yi Chen was unable to summon the howling celestial dog immediately. And this was the crux of the problem. Logically speaking, the nine-tailed celestial fox summoned by the nine-tailed celestial fox fan should have acted according to the orders of the Fox clan leader who controlled the nine-tailed celestial fox fan. However, in the end, the nine-tailed celestial fox completely ignored the orders of the Fox clan leader. Otherwise, the moment Yi Chen got lost, the nine-tailed celestial fox would have directly attacked him and killed him on the spot. Just as Yi Chen was looking at the nine-tailed celestial fox in confusion, the nine-tailed celestial fox's scarlet eyes suddenly turned to look at Yi Chen and then smiled. When Yi Chen saw this, his primordial spirit shook again, but he immediately regained his senses. At this moment, Yi Chen's expression became extremely gloomy. It was no wonder that Yi Chen reacted this way. After all, the nine-tailed celestial fox's actions were completely messing with Yi Chen's mind. If Yi Chen could not hold on, then Yi Chen's path to the Emperor's path, Yi Chen's cultivation path, and all of Yi Chen's plans would definitely come to an end. This was not a joke. This was the truth. After all, Yi Chen had been reborn. How could he not know the consequences of losing one's mind? Just as Yi Chen was completely enraged and was about to summon the howling celestial dog, the nine-tailed celestial fox in the main hall suddenly lit up with moonlight. In the blink of an eye, a woman in a semi-transparent dress with her important parts covered by a belt appeared in the main hall. The moment he saw the woman, Yi Chen, who was about to summon the howling celestial dog, was stunned. At this moment, the woman bowed respectfully to Yi Chen. Daji greets the great king. Chapter 784. Yi Chen's eyes narrowed when he heard the woman's words. Damn it, I was wondering why she looked so familiar. Damn it, it really is Daji. But why did Daji appear in the real world? Daji was a character who appeared during the investiture of the gods in the Eldritch world. When she first appeared, she was the daughter of the Yu Su clan. Later, the Yu Su clan was attacked by King Zhou of Shang. In order to avoid being exterminated, the Yu Su clan offered Daji to King Zhou of Shang. At that time, Daji was still a pure human. However, she was later possessed by a fox spirit, and her body was taken away. After that, the name Daji spread throughout the world. It could be said that many people in the real world knew about her legend and her deeds. They also knew that the Shang dynasty was destroyed because of her. Of course, Yichen was no exception. In fact, Yichen knew more than the players. After all, Yichen had been reborn. In his previous life, when he was in the Eldritch world, not only did he hear many legends about Daji, but he also saw Daji being burned by the sea of fire with his own eyes. Because of this, Yichen knew better than the players what kind of existence Daji was. To be more precise, most of the legends about Daji in the world were correct. However, there was one key missing. That was the souls of the Yusu clan Daji and the fox spirit that possessed Daji all came from the same soul. To be more precise, the souls of Daji and the fox spirit that possessed her all came from the nine-tailed celestial fox. This was completely revealed when Daji was burned alive by the sea of fire, or more accurately, the sea of fire formed by the true sunfire. As for Yichun, he knew about this because Yichun saw this scene by chance in his previous life. Although it was very short at that time, Yichun was very sure that he did not see wrongly. To be more precise, Daji's soul did become a nine-tailed celestial fox after being burned alive by the sea of fire formed by the true sunfire. However, as soon as Daji revealed her nine-tailed celestial fox soul, she was completely burned to ashes. At that moment, Yichun heard the unwilling howl of Daji, or rather, the nine-tailed fox. Unfortunately, no matter how unwilling he was, it was useless. Firstly, he didn't have any protective treasures, and secondly, he didn't have the power to defend himself. How could he possibly survive the burning of the primordial sun fire, which was one of the 10 most powerful flames in the prehistorical era? Although Yichun did not know why the nine-tailed celestial fox was split into two, or who did it, Yichun was very clear about one thing. The nine-tailed celestial fox was a tragic character with a story. After all, she was a key figure in the conferred god battle, and she had been forced to do so. If she didn't agree, she would die without a doubt. But if she agreed, she would also die without a doubt. And now, Yichun saw the short-lived nine-tailed celestial fox from his previous life again. Or rather, Daji, who had brought chaos to the world. Naturally, he recalled the memories of his previous life. It seemed that she was the Daji who had been split into two and lost all her memories in the prehistorical era. But at the moment of her death, she recalled everything and revived her soul. But why did she call me king? The term king was a respectful title for the king in the prehistorical era. Yichun was a human, a proper human. Not only was he not a demon, he was also not the ruler of an empire. But Daji had called Yichun king and even bowed to him. How could Yichun not find it strange? Wait, F***CK. Could it be that Daji has a favor to ask of me? If that's the case, then it's a little ridiculous. It was no wonder that Yichun thought so. After all, Daji was a nine-tailed celestial fox. At this moment, she had the strength of a celestial immortal, but she was so respectful to Yichun and did not show any hostility. It would be strange if she did not have a request. Thinking of this, Yichun could not help but frown, because he didn't understand, and also because Daji had used charm on Yichun twice before. Just as Yichun was thinking about Daji's purpose, the Fox Clan leader of Fox Branch Mountain, who had used the nine-tailed celestial fox fan, suddenly made a sound. The sound was very long and urgent, and then it became lower and lower. Hearing this, Yichun could not help but raise his eyebrows. It was time to summon the nine-tailed celestial fox. Yichun did not know what the nine-tailed celestial fox, or Daji, wanted to ask of him. He felt a little uncomfortable because the nine-tailed celestial fox had charmed him twice previously. Therefore, Yichun did not want to communicate too much with the nine-tailed celestial fox. After all, he could not kill her. If he summoned the howling celestial dog, he could kill her. However, if the nine-tailed celestial fox sensed that she was no match for him or was in danger, she would definitely escape back to the nine-tailed celestial fox fan. Under the premise that this possibility had a high probability of happening, if Yichun chose to summon the howling celestial dog, not only would it be useless, but it would also affect the plan of plundering the resources of the primordial world in advance. It was completely unnecessary. Of course, if not for the fact that Su Daji did not show any hostility to Yi Chun at this moment, Yi Chun would definitely summon the howling celestial dog directly, regardless of whether it would affect him or not. After all, safety came first. As for what Daji wanted to ask Yi Chun to do, Yi Chun guessed that it was the mysterious existence who had split the nine-tailed celestial fox's soul into two. After all, that was all Yi Chun knew. However, Yi Chun did not think that the nine-tailed celestial fox's request was for Yi Chun's help to fight against that mysterious existence. After all, Yi Chun's current realm was right there. The existence who could split the nine-tailed celestial fox's soul into two was definitely far stronger than a heaven immortal. Therefore, it was impossible for the nine-tailed celestial fox or Daji's goodwill to ask Yi Chun to help her deal with the existence that had split her soul into two. If it was not for this, Yi Chun could not think of any other reason. It was precisely because Yi Chun could not guess Daji's purpose that Yi Chun preferred to see the nine-tailed celestial fox's summoning time end and then automatically return to the nine-tailed celestial fox fan. After all, Daji was a member of the demon clan and a nine-tailed celestial fox comparable to a heaven immortal. If Yi Chun were to pay attention to her, he might really suffer a great loss. Yi Chun did not want to do such a thing. Just as Yi Chun thought of this, the eyes of the Fox clan leader of Fox Branch Mountain, who was standing in front of the stone bench, suddenly bulged. Then he saw his body rapidly shrivel. In the blink of an eye, he became a fox corpse without any water. At this moment, Daji, who had transformed into a human, suddenly smiled. Then she looked at Yi Chun and said, "Great king, the nine-tailed celestial fox fan was made for my body. I can enter and leave freely." Hearing this, Yi Chun's face darkened. Then he looked straight at Daji and asked, "Tell me. Speak, what is it?" Hearing this, Daji smiled and then bowed to Yi Chun solemnly. "Tushan and Daji wish to follow you, great king. Please take them in." As soon as Daji finished speaking, the system's notification sounded. Ding! The nine-tailed celestial fox Daji wishes to acknowledge you as her master. Will you accept? Ding! A reminder to player Yi Chun, Tushan, and Daji are special characters. If player Yi Chun chooses to accept, he will be forced to accept the special storyline, Revenge of the Demon Lord. Player Yi Chun, please choose carefully. Chapter 785. As soon as the system's notification ended, Yi Chun's eyes narrowed fiercely. The demon ancestor's revenge. Damn it. Who would have thought that the nine-tailed celestial fox's acknowledgement of its master would involve Luo Ho? It seemed that the person who had split the nine-tailed celestial fox's soul into two in his previous life was either Hong Jun or one of the sages. However, the possibility of Hong Jun taking action was higher. It was no wonder that Yi Chun thought so. One had to know that the system's notification had clearly told Yi Chun one thing, and that was that the nine-tailed celestial fox had been fancied by the demon ancestor Luo Ho. It did not matter whether the demon ancestor Luo Ho wanted to obtain the nine-tailed celestial fox because of the love between a man and a woman, the resurrection plan, or some other reason. What was important was that Luo Ho wanted to obtain the nine-tailed celestial fox. And this was naturally what Hong Jun did not want to see the most. After all, Taoists and demons could not coexist and were natural enemies. It would be strange if Hong Jun would let Luo Ho's plan go according to plan. It was also because of this reason that Yi Chun made the assumption that the existence of splitting the nine-tailed celestial fox's soul into two in his previous life was most likely Hong Jun's judgment. Thinking of this, Yi Chun could not help but look at the nine-tailed celestial fox, who was respectfully waiting for Yi Chun's answer. At this moment, Yi Chun hesitated. After taking the nine-tailed celestial fox, he would directly obtain a celestial immortal as a subordinate. Although it would only be a celestial immortal at the bottom, it would still be a celestial immortal. When the entire country ascended to the primordial world, it would definitely be easier to gain a foothold in the primordial world. But damn it, I'm not sure if the nine-tailed celestial fox whose soul had not been split into two would have the same personality and the same way of doing things as the Su-Daji, who had caused chaos in the world during the War of the Gods. Yi Chen's worries were not groundless. After all, the legend of Su-Daji had long been famous. Everyone knew about it. If the nine-tailed celestial fox had the exact same personality as Su-Daji, who brought chaos to the world in Yi Chen's previous life, once Yi Chen took her in, then Yi Chen's backyard would definitely become chaotic and restless. This was not the outcome that Yi Chen wanted to see. It was for this reason that Yi Chen did not want to accept the nine-tailed fox. As for Yi Chen not wanting to accept the nine-tailed heavenly fox because he was worried about demon ancestor Raha's revenge that did not exist at all. There was no possibility of reconciliation. There was no possibility of reconciliation. There was no chance of reconciliation. There was no possibilities reconciliation. There was no possibility of reconciliation. There was no possibility of reconciliation was there. After all, the Khanate Cardinal Treasure Godslayer was originally the weapon of the demon ancestor Luo Ho. If Luo Ho was resurrected, it would be strange if he did not look for Yi Chen. It was also because of this reason that after Yi Chen had subdued the Celestial Hound, he did not hesitate to instruct the Celestial Hound to spread the news that the Lion Clan leader, who had designs on the Kirin clan's treasury, was the successor of Luo Ho. This was not Yi Chen lying or deliberately making up something. It was the truth. As for Yi Chen's purpose, it was naturally to disrupt the plan of the demon ancestor Luo Ho. After all, they would have to face each other sooner or later. Why should he be soft-hearted? And the consequences of Yi Chen's actions would definitely agitate the demon ancestor Luo Ho even more. After that, they would not rest until one of them was dead. If Yi Chen was afraid of Luo Ho, why would he do this? To accept or not to accept? Just as Yi Chen thought of this, he was suddenly stunned. It was because Yi Chen remembered the nine-tailed celestial fox's self-introduction. To be precise, it was the nine-tailed celestial fox's birthplace, Tushan. The Tushan Fox clan, holy shit. He had almost forgotten about this. The Tushan Fox clan was a special case among the Fox clan. To be precise, the Tushan Fox clan was loyal. They would only recognize one person in their entire life, whether it was their master or their husband. As long as they recognized them, they would be loyal to them until their death. For example, Yu the Great, who was controlling the flood, had once married a nine-tailed celestial fox from Tushan. After the two of them got married, the nine-tailed celestial fox had never betrayed them. Of course, more importantly, Yu the Great's wife was kind by nature. She had never done evil and was very charitable. She had a very good reputation. Damn it, although the legendary Su-Daji and the fox spirit that possessed her had half of the nine-tailed celestial fox's soul, they did not have the memories of the nine-tailed celestial fox. They did not represent the nine-tailed celestial fox. Moreover, everything in the game world was starting over. The nine-tailed celestial fox was still the nine-tailed celestial fox. Her soul had not been split into two. Su-Daji had not appeared. That fox spirit had not appeared either. Why was he thinking so much? Thinking of this, Yi Chen let out a long breath. Then, he looked directly at the nine-tailed celestial fox, Daji, who was already showing some sadness in her eyes. He asked, "You don't regret it?" "I swear that I will never regret it." The nine-tailed celestial fox, who had originally thought that it was completely hopeless, heard this. Her eyes suddenly lit up. Then, she hurriedly bowed and said. When Yi Chen heard this, he nodded and then asked, "Why did you follow me? You even came up to me and called me king?" This was Yi Chen's question. Until now, he had not solved it. Naturally, Yi Chen wanted to ask clearly before deciding whether to accept the nine-tailed celestial fox, Daji, from Tushan. When the nine-tailed celestial fox heard this, she bowed to Yi Chen and then said, "My lord, I have a treasure that allows me to see the great path. Therefore, after I saw you use the red karmic fire thunder, I specially checked on you." When Yi Chen heard this, his eyes suddenly widened. a treasure that can see the great path. Damn it! Why haven't I heard of it before? When the nine-tailed celestial fox, who had transformed into a human, said this, she secretly glanced at Yi Chun and then bowed to Yi Chun to apologize before continuing. This treasure is the fragment of the creation jade butterfly. I used this item to see the rich providence of heaven and earth on you, and the escaped one. When Yi Chun heard this, he was stunned for a moment. Then he suddenly understood. Damn it, I knew it. How could the nine-tailed celestial fox be related to the demon ancestor Rahu and the Tao ancestor Hongjun? It turned out that the root of this was the fragment of the creation jade butterfly. Damn it. The creation jade butterfly was a chaos treasure that recorded the complete great path. However, when Pangu created the sky, it was directly shattered by the Pangu axe. Although most of the creation jade butterfly had been obtained by Hongjun, it was undeniable that the creation jade butterfly that Hongjun obtained was incomplete. It was also because of this that Hongjun could only manage the primordial world on behalf of the heavenly Tao, but could not attain the great path. It was certain that he was indignant. After all, if he could attain the great path, how could he choose to integrate the Tao and become a heavenly Tao that was not the heavenly Tao? It was also because of this that Hongjun attacked the nine-tailed celestial fox. His goal was to take away the fragment of the creation jade butterfly from the nine-tailed celestial fox, and then complete the creation jade butterfly. That way, Hongjun would have a chance to attain the great path. As for the demon ancestor Rahu, it was not difficult to understand why he wanted to obtain the nine-tailed celestial fox because of the fragment of the creation jade butterfly. After all, Rahu had already been defeated. If he wanted to rise again and control the primordial world, he had to find the escaped one and control it. Only then would he have a chance to turn the tables. In that case, Rahu had to obtain the creation jade butterfly fragment from the nine-tailed celestial fox. Chapter 786. At the thought of this, Yi Chun smiled coldly and then looked at the nine-tailed fox who had transformed into a human. You can see that I have the escaped one. Why don't you snatch it from me? The nine-tailed celestial fox possessed strength comparable to a celestial immortal. At first glance, the chances of her snatching the elusive one from Yi Chun were very high. After all, the nine-tailed celestial fox's strength was there for all to see. However, in reality, it was impossible for the nine-tailed fox to succeed. Even if the nine-tailed fox was a sage-to-be, it could not succeed. Otherwise, the escaped one would have been found by Hongjun or Luo Ho and snatched it away. It would not have been Yi Chun's turn. Yi Chun clearly knew this, but he deliberately asked the nine-tailed fox. In fact, he wanted to use the nine-tailed fox's answer to determine whether to accept the nine-tailed fox. To be precise, this was actually Yi Chun's test for the nine-tailed fox. If the nine-tailed fox's answer satisfied Yi Chun, then Yi Chun would choose to accept the nine-tailed fox. If the nine-tailed fox's answer did not satisfy Yi Chun would not hesitate to summon the howling celestial dog and then kill the nine-tailed fox. After all, Yi Chun had the elusive one on him. Although Yi Chun himself didn't know how he had obtained the elusive one, this wasn't important. What was important was that this information couldn't be leaked. Otherwise, as long as Yi Chun ascended to the Eldritch world, he would definitely attract the followers of Tao ancestor Hongjun and demon ancestor Luo Ho. With Yi Chun's strength, he would definitely be beaten badly if he directly confronted the followers of Tao ancestor or demon ancestor Luo Ho. Moreover, he would not be able to resist. Yi Chun did not want to see such an outcome. It was also because of this that Yi Chun deliberately asked the nine-tailed fox. Of course, Yi Chun asked this because in the nine-tailed celestial fox's heart, Yi Chun was a native of this small world in the real world. It was impossible for him to know about the primordial world. If it weren't for this premise, Yi Chun wouldn't have asked the nine-tailed celestial fox this question. After hearing Yi Chun's question, the nine-tailed fox in human form hesitated for a moment before bowing apologetically to Yi Chun. Your Majesty, please forgive me. When I first appeared, I did think of snatching the elusive one from your majesty." The nine-tailed celestial fox, who had transformed into a human, glanced at Yi-chan. After confirming that Yi-chan was not directly angry, she immediately heaved a sigh of relief and then continued. "That's right. Your majesty is the son of providence. You have great providence and the evasive one to protect you. If I were to attack the king, even if I succeed, I wouldn't be able to catch the elusive one. In this way, my last hope of changing my destiny would also be destroyed." When Yi-chan heard this, he couldn't help but look at the nine-tailed celestial fox. After explaining the reason, she quietly waited for Yi-chan to make his choice. Although Yi-chan didn't really like the nine-tailed celestial fox's answer, the nine-tailed celestial fox was still considered honest. After all, the nine-tailed celestial fox had already told Yi-chan that she had the creation jade butterfly fragment on her. Moreover, her explanation to Yi-chan was all true. There was no falsehood. Otherwise, Yi-chan wouldn't even think about it. He would directly summon the howling celestial dog to the real world and kill the nine-tailed celestial fox. Thinking of this, Yi-chan nodded and then looked at the nine-tailed celestial fox. "If I take you in, although Hong Jun and Luo Ho will directly become my enemies, I agree." As soon as Yi-chan finished speaking, the nine-tailed celestial fox was instantly stunned. She didn't expect Yi-chan to point out the crux of the problem, just because she didn't explain in detail. Of course, she also didn't expect that Yi-chan, who had already pointed out the crux of the matter, would still choose to take her in despite knowing that he would provoke Hong Jun and Luo Ho. After coming back to her senses, the nine-tailed celestial fox, who had transformed into a human, suddenly revealed an inexplicable gratitude and shame in her eyes. In the next second, the nine-tailed celestial fox, who had transformed into a human, looked at Yi-chan with a choked voice and bowed. "Your Majesty, the nine-tailed celestial fox's destiny was already sealed the moment she obtained the creation jade butterfly fragment. And if she wanted to change her destiny, she could only obtain the elusive one. Unfortunately, she didn't have that ability. Even if she found the elusive one, she wouldn't be able to obtain it. It was precisely because the nine-tailed celestial fox knew this that she deliberately refined her body into the nine-tailed celestial fox fan, and then left the Eldritch world through some means. Then, she fell to Earth with the meteor and appeared in the real world. At first glance, the nine-tailed celestial fox could continue to hide. As long as she didn't appear in the Eldritch world, she could avoid the threat from Hong Jun and Luo Ho and change her destiny. Unfortunately, this could only be a fantasy and couldn't be realized at all, because she was a native of the Eldritch world and a native without a master. If the nine-tailed celestial fox had been hiding in the nine-tailed celestial fox fan, this wouldn't be a big deal. However, the problem was that this was no different from dying. Of course, this wasn't the key. The key was that she had been summoned, so she couldn't continue to hide. Although she was from a Tushan fox tribe and was completely different from the fox tribe in other places, no matter how different she was still from the fox tribe. She could not dispel the bad reputation of the fox tribe in the untainted world. As soon as the nine-tailed celestial fox Daji finished speaking, a thunderous sound that shook the heavens and the earth was instantly heard. Boom, boom, boom. The sound was deep and long, and it spread millions of miles away in an instant. Seeing this, Yi-chan was stunned for a moment. Then, he nodded and said, "Very well. Welcome to the reincarnation immortal city. Tushan Daji greets the great king." The nine-tailed celestial fox, Tushan Daji, who had transformed into a human, was overjoyed when she heard this. Then, she bowed respectfully to Yi-chan. As soon as Tushan Daji finished speaking, the system's notification instantly sounded. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi-chan for successfully subduing the special character, Tushan Daji. Special reward to player Yi-chan. Innate attribute points x 1000. Lucky draw x2. Ding! Special storyline quest, Demon Ancestors Revenge, has officially been activated. From today onwards, for 10,000 years, regardless of whether demon ancestor Luoho's resurrection is successful or not, he will be forcefully resurrected by player Yi Chun and obtain the power of revenge. Player Yi Chun, please kill demon ancestor Luoho in time. Otherwise, demon ancestor Luoho's power of revenge will be transformed into the power of destruction. Player Yi Chun will permanently drop by 5 realms, and 2 of his attributes will be taken away at random. His luck will be reset to 0. Chapter 787. As soon as the system's notification ended, Yichen couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. As expected, the maximum time limit required to complete the special plot mission, Revenge of the Demon Ancestor, was no less than 10,000 years. Yichen had already guessed that the special plot mission, Revenge of the Demon Ancestor, would definitely have a time limit when the system issued a warning when Tushan Daji, the 9-tailed celestial fox, wanted to recognize him as her master. However, Yichen didn't think that the special plot mission, Revenge of the Demon Ancestor, would only give him a little time. After all, the special plot mission Space Supremacy, related to Yang Mei Immortal, had given Yi Chun 10,000 years to prepare. There was no reason for Revenge of the Demon Ancestor to give Yi Chun less time. It was only 10,000 years. If he couldn't become a saint in 10,000 years, then he wouldn't be able to survive. Yi Chun had already become the opponent of Hong Jun and Yang Mei Immortal. These 2 existences couldn't cause Yi Chun any trouble. How could Yi Chun worry about this? And that because of demon ancestor Luoho. Of course, this wasn't important. What was important was that Yi Chun was confident that he could become a saint within 10,000 years. He could become the strongest saint with his strength and then attain the great Tao. As for the source of Yi Chun's confidence, it was on the path of the Imperial Path Providence. If Yi Chun's plan in the newbie area of the 3 kingdoms was completely successful, then Yi Chun's path of the Imperial Path Providence would be smooth and unimpeded. In this way, Yi Chun's cultivation speed would soar crazily with the advancement of the Samsara Empire, the Empire of Providence. To put it more precisely, Yi Chun's cultivation speed would increase by 81 times when the Samsara Empire became a dynasty of karmic luck. After that, his cultivation speed would increase by 9 times each time the Samsara Empire ranked up. Only when the Samsara Empire became the top empire of Providence would Yi Chun's cultivation speed completely stabilize. At that time, Yi Chun's cultivation speed would have already exceeded 10,000 times. It wouldn't be a dream for him to become a saint. Furthermore, this was the result of Yi Chun's cultivation, even though he had yet to attain the 5 elements divine body. If the improvement of Yi Chun's root bone could also increase Yi Chun's cultivation speed, it would be even easier for Yi Chun to become a sage. Of course, in this process, there would definitely be many enemies and difficulties. However, this wasn't a big problem for Yi Chun, who walked the path of the Sovereign Path Providence. Because Yi Chun had the Samsara Empire, many subordinates, the super-powerful equipment crafting machine, the cauldron of heaven and earth, and the memories of his previous life that no player had. This was the source of Yi Chun's confidence. Of course, Yi Chun's confidence also had something to do with the cultivation techniques, connate cardinal treasures, connate spiritual treasures, and the star pearl that could synchronize the strength of the virtual world with the real world. Without these, Yi Chun really didn't dare to guarantee that he could become a sage in 10,000 years. Among these, the most important was the star pearl that Yi Chun had obtained when a meteor fell. Without this, Yi Chun's rapid rise would really be greatly hindered. After all, the function of the star pearl was to synchronize the strength of the virtual world with the strength of the real world. Without it, Yi Chun would only be able to obtain 10 to 20% of his strength from the virtual world, just like the other players. In this way, Yi Chun's strength would be greatly restricted, and he wouldn't be able to develop to his current level so smoothly. Of course, this was just a hypothesis. In fact, Yi Chun did have these. Otherwise, how could Yi Chun have reached the tribulation passing stage now? Thinking of this, Yi Chun couldn't help but smirk, and then he let out a long sigh. The world is unpredictable. It's only now that I understand that my rebirth was all because of the escaped one. Although he didn't know how the escaped one was obtained, the outcome was good. Not only was he reborn, but he also obtained the escaped one. With this, even if he went to the Eldritch world, Hongjun wouldn't be able to deduce the heavenly secrets and discover my identity as an alien and the escaped one on me. Not bad. Not bad thinking of this. Yichen couldn't help but smile, and then he looked at the nine-tailed celestial fox, Tushan Daji. Unexpectedly, before Yichen could speak, Tushan Daji spoke first. Your Majesty, please take the creation jade butterfly fragment from me. Although your Majesty has already obtained the escaped one, and it doesn't matter whether you have his fragment or not, it's still a chaos treasure after all. Besides, it's not easy for outsiders to detect it if it's with your Majesty. You can't take out the creation jade butterfly fragment. When Yichen heard this, he couldn't help but be stunned, and then he asked in surprise. After hearing Yichen's question, Tushan Daji nodded helplessly and then said, Your Majesty, Your Majesty. Yes, Your Majesty. If that wasn't the case, I wouldn't have had to pay such a huge price to escape to your world. When Yichen heard this, his face suddenly froze, and then he couldn't help but laugh awkwardly. I see, originally, Yichen thought that Tushan Daji was unwilling to give up the creation jade butterfly fragment because of her greed, which led to Hongjun and Luo Ho's investigation. Then, the two of them locked their attention on Tushan Daji, and this forced the nine-tailed celestial fox to use her means to refine her body into the nine-tailed celestial fox fan, and then through some method appear in the real world. Who would have thought that Tushan Daji would say that she couldn't take out the creation jade butterfly fragment? What did this mean? Naturally, Yichen's previous guess was wrong. As for whether Tushan Daji was lying, Yichen didn't think so. This was because Tushan Daji had already acknowledged Yichen as her master, and there was no need for her to lie to Yichen. Thinking of this, Yichen looked at Tushan Daji apologetically, but then he was stunned. F***CK. How do I take out the creation jade butterfly fragment? Just as Yichen was puzzled, Tushan Daji took the initiative to walk to Yichen's side, and then she leaned her head slightly toward Yichen. At this moment, a thumb-sized rainbow-colored mark suddenly lit up on Tushan Daji's neck. Seeing this, Yichen was stunned again, and then he touched the rainbow-colored mark on Tushan Daji's neck with his right hand. The moment Yichen's right hand touched the rainbow-colored mark, a piece of rainbow-colored shard instantly flew out from Tushan Daji's neck, and then flew directly toward Yichen's forehead. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared without a trace. Before Yichen could react, the system's notification suddenly rang out. Ding! Congratulations to player Yichen for obtaining the Chaos Treasure, the Creation Jade Butterfly Fragment. Ding! Special conditions have been met. Unique plot mission, Fight for the Great Way, has been officially activated. Ding! Out of the 50 Great Ways, 49 have escaped. The one who obtains one will automatically obtain the status of Great Way Inheritor. However, there's only one Great Way, and the one who proves it is only one. Player Yichen, please be prepared to defeat all those who seek the Great Way. If you succeed, you will prove the Great Way. Chapter 788. The moment the system's notification ended, Yichen's eyes widened. Great Tao Inheritors, Great Tao Struggle. Yichen had been reborn and knew many secrets and opportunities. It was precisely because of this that Yichen set his goal in this life as the strongest player. In order to achieve this goal, Yichen had been working hard and preparing non-stop since Meteor Fall and the moment the game started. It could be said that everything Yichen did was to become the strongest saint, the strongest heavenly Tao, and the strongest great Tao. This was because only in this way would Yichen obtain the power to make all living beings fear and even despair. Then, Yichen would be able to transcend everything and crush everything. He would not be bound by any restrictions or be afraid of any schemes. Then, he would be free and unfettered. In fact, this was also the reason why Yi Chun had been hanging around in the Three Kingdoms beginner zone and had not ascended to the primordial world. Of course, this was not important. What was important was the unique plot mission, Great Tao Struggle. To be precise, Yi Chun did not expect himself to become a Great Tao inheritor. Although this sounded very domineering and seemed to have many benefits, the problem was that the unique plot mission, Great Tao Struggle, hit a side that was disadvantageous to Yi Chun. To be precise, if Yi Chun wanted to prove the Great Tao, he would become the enemy of all those who wanted to prove the Great Tao. To be more precise, Yi Chun would become the target of all those who wanted to prove the Great Tao. And this was different from what Yi Chun had imagined. Originally, Yi Chun wanted to go from weak to strong, defeating and even killing those who wanted to prove the Great Tao one by one before becoming the final victor. But now, the unique plot mission, Great Tao Struggle, directly made Yi Chun the enemy of all those who wanted to prove the Great Tao. Furthermore, he was the biggest enemy that had to be dealt with first. In this way, Yi Chun's strongest plan would naturally be affected as well. Who would have thought that the evading one would bring me great benefits? But it would also bring me quite a bit of trouble. With the escaped one, Yi Chun could ignore the ability to infer the heavenly secrets. He also had the talent to survive desperate situations. The former could prevent Yi Chun's identity as an alien from being leaked, thus preventing Yi Chun from being hunted down by Hong Jun, the Three Pure Ones, the Two Saints of the West, and Yuhua. After all, the heavenly Tao of the primeval world did not allow the existence of foreign species, and Yi Chun, who had been reborn, was a genuine foreign species. As for the latter, it would allow Yi Chun to never fall into a desperate situation. Even if Yi Chun's realm was very low and he was really in a hopeless situation, the fleeing one could still allow Yi Chun to find the hope of survival in the certain death predicament. This was because this was the special ability of the escaped one. It was very abnormal and very powerful, and it was unique. Of course, benefits aside, the escaping one also brought Yi Chun a lot of trouble. After all, the escaping one allowed Yi Chun to obtain the identity of the inheritor of the Great Tao. And this unique identity directly turned Yi Chun from a fish in troubled waters into a fish when he was proving the Great Tao. And this was not the result that Yi Chun wanted to see. There were gains and losses. So what if I'm targeted? I'm not fighting alone. When my Samsara Empire becomes the strongest dynasty, I'll see how those who dare to compete with me for the Great Tao will make trouble for me. What's more, I know a lot of people who have the potential to become sages. When the whole country ascends to the primeval world, I'll kill all of them. Even if I can't kill all of them, I can kill 99% of them. Thinking of this, Yi Chun couldn't help but smile. Then he moved his divine senses and looked directly at the fragment of the jade butterfly of fate floating in his Zifu. The moment Yi Chun's divine senses saw the fragment of the jade butterfly of fate, the originally quiet fragment of the jade butterfly of fate suddenly shook with a hum. Then the fragment of the jade butterfly of fate directly cracked in Yi Chun's Zifu and turned into a mass of purple qi. At this moment, Yi Chun's Zifu was directly dyed purple. Noticing this change, Yi Chun was stunned. This was, just as Yi Chun thought of this, an extremely mysterious aura suddenly appeared in Yi Chun's Zifu. At the same time, in Yi Chun's Zifu, the mass of purple qi formed by the fragment of the jade butterfly of fate directly rushed towards Yi Chun's primordial spirit. The moment it came into contact with Yi Chun's primordial spirit, it disappeared. Before Yi Chun could react, Yi Chun's primordial spirit was rapidly solidifying at a speed visible to the naked eye. At this moment, Yi Chun's divine senses were also madly expanding at an extremely terrifying speed. 500,000 miles, 1 million miles, 2 million miles. It wasn't until Yi Chen's divine senses had completely covered a radius of 10 million miles that the madly expanding divine senses stopped. At this moment, a wave of pressure unique to an Earth immortal appeared with a boom on Yi Chen's body. In the blink of an eye, it suddenly soared into the sky. At this moment, the originally windless main hall of Fox Branch Mountain was suddenly swept up by a violent hurricane. In the blink of an eye, the main hall of Fox Branch Mountain was blown into dust and then scattered into the distance. Beside Yi Chen, the nine-tailed celestial fox, Tushan Daji, who had been waiting for Yi Chen's orders, was stunned when she saw this. Then, she cried out in surprise. Hong Ming, immortal vapor. How is this possible? Hearing Tushan Daji's cry of surprise, Yi Chen's eyes suddenly widened. He was not mistaken. That mass of purple qi was the foundation of Taoism. Hong Ming, immortal vapor. In order to become a sage, one's strength was not enough to directly become a sage. There was another key, and that was the Hong Ming immortal vapor. It could be said that the Hong Ming immortal vapor was the stepping stone to becoming a sage. Without it, one would not be able to successfully become a sage. It was also because of this limitation that in Yi Chen's previous life, there were so many people in the Eldritch world who had clearly reached the sage realm, but still could not become a sage. Damn it! He originally wanted to wait until he reached the Eldritch world before looking for an opportunity to snatch the Hong Ming immortal vapor from Hong Yin. He did not expect to obtain the Hong Ming immortal vapor so easily. Thinking of this, Yi Chen could not help but smile. At this moment, Tushan Daji, who had regained her senses, hurriedly looked at Yi Chen and then bowed to Yi Chen. Please forgive me, Your Majesty. I did not cry out because I was unwilling to part with him. Tushan Daji was comparable to a divine immortal. Naturally, she could see the abnormal changes in Yi Chen's purple mansion. Although she only saw it for a moment, and then it was completely blocked by the power of the great path contained within the Hong Ming immortal vapor, she still saw it. It was also because Tushan Daji saw the Hong Ming immortal vapor and felt the extremely mysterious aura of the Hong Ming immortal vapor that Tushan Daji could not help but cry out in surprise. It should be known that Tushan Daji had obtained the fragment of the jade butterfly of fate for quite some time. However, the problem was that Tushan Daji had not been able to detect the Hong Ming immortal vapor in the fragment for such a long time. However, after she had recognized Yi Chen as her master and handed over the fragment of the jade butterfly of fate, she saw the Hong Ming immortal vapor. No matter who it was, they would not be able to remain calm. Of course, this was not important. What was important was that Tushan Daji's cry of surprise was very likely to cause Yi Chen to misunderstand. Otherwise, Tushan Daji would not have hurriedly explained to Yi Chen after she regained her senses. After hearing Tushan Daji's worried words, Yi Chen smiled and said, "Don't worry. Don't overthink it. I believe you." When Tushan Daji saw the elusive one on Yi Chen's body, she did not want to kill him or snatch it away. This was enough to show her heart. Of course, Yi Chen would not suspect Tushan Daji just because of the nine-tailed celestial fox's cry of surprise. When Tushan Daji heard this, she immediately heaved a sigh of relief. Then, she bowed to Yi Chen solemnly and said, "Thank you for your trust, Your Majesty." When Yi Chen heard this, he nodded with a smile and said, "You are from the Tushan Fox clan. I understand the Tushan Fox clan, so you don't have to worry about this or that. Moreover, from the moment you recognized me as your master, I have already treated you as one of my own. Do you understand?" "Yes, Your Majesty." When Tushan Daji heard this, she was stunned for a moment. Then, she nodded heavily and said, "Yes, Your Majesty." At this moment, Tushan Daji could not help but feel touched. Wave after wave of emotions exploded in her heart. When Yi Chen saw this, he could not help but smile. Just as he was about to speak, the system notification suddenly sounded. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen. Tushan Daji's loyalty has increased by 30. She has become a loyal follower. When the system notification ended, Yichen could not help but raise his eyebrows. Not bad, not bad. Another loyal follower. Moreover, she was a nine-tailed celestial fox who was comparable to a divine immortal. Although she was just a soul, she was indeed very useful. Chapter 789. Thinking of this, Yichen couldn't help but smirk. He then looked at Tushan Daji and asked, "The nine-tailed celestial fox fan was made from your body and can't be restored. Do you have a way to rebuild your body?" Although Tushan Daji had the power of a divine immortal, she was in the form of a soul. Compared to Tushan Daji, who had a physical body, she was definitely much weaker. It was for this reason that Yi Chun asked Tushan Daji if there was a way to reconstruct his body. After all, Tushan Daji could only be more useful with a physical body. Otherwise, Yichen wouldn't have asked this question. Hearing this, Tushan Daji nodded bitterly and said, "That's right. Your Majesty, if you want to rebuild your body, you can do it through possession or reincarnation. However, these two methods are the worst. The best way is to use the connate living soil to rebuild your body. However, the connate living soil is very rare. I've been searching for it for thousands of years, but I haven't found any news about it." After hearing Tushan Daji's words, Yichen nodded. He then looked at Tushan Daji and said, "In that case, I'll rebuild your body after I get the connate living soil." After Yichen was reborn, he knew a few ways to rebuild a body. As for why Yichen asked Tushan Daji when he knew the way to rebuild a body, he wanted to see if Tushan Daji knew more ways to rebuild a body. If Tushan Daji knew and Yichen could do it, Yichen would definitely rebuild a body for Tushan Daji. After all, Tushan Daji with a physical body was in Yichen's best interest. Unfortunately, the few ways to rebuild a body that Tushan Daji knew were all in the list of ways to rebuild a body that Yichen knew. There was nothing special about them. Therefore, Yichen could only choose the best way to rebuild a body, which was to use the connate living soil to rebuild Tushan Daji's body. This was something that could not be helped. After all, there were drawbacks to Tushan Daji's possession or reincarnation. Taking possession as an example, there was a chance of failure. To be more precise, once the possession failed, Tushan Daji would die completely. Taking reincarnation as an example, it meant that everything had to be restarted. In this way, Tushan Daji's strength that was comparable to that of a divine immortal would be completely wiped out. This was not a good thing for Yichen, who was about to ascend to the untainted land and needed powerful subordinates. It was also because of these reasons that Yichen asked Tushan Daji. After Tushan Daji explained, Yichen directly decided to prepare the innate living soil for Tushan Daji and then reconstruct her body. After all, the connate living soil was a connate grade material. It contained the richness of the earth element and boundless life energy. If he used the connate living soil to rebuild Tushan Daji's body, not only would it preserve Tushan Daji's strength, but it would also give Tushan Daji new talents, such as automatic recovery and rebirth from a drop of blood. In this way, Tushan Daji's abilities would definitely be stronger, and she would be able to do more things for Yichen. As for where the connate living soil was, the nine-tailed celestial fox had been searching for it for thousands of years without any results. However, this was not a problem for Yichen. After all, Yichen had been reborn. How could he not know where the connate living soil was? It was also because of this that Yichen directly told Tushan Daji that he would prepare the connate living soil for her. When Tushan Daji heard this, she was stunned. She did not expect that Yichen would prepare the connate living soil for her. One should know that this was not a cabbage. In Tushan Daji's opinion, if Yichen had obtained the connate living soil, he should have used it for himself, such as strengthening his body or planting connate spiritual plants. He should not have taken it out and given it to her to rebuild her body. After coming back to her senses, Tushan Daji was deeply moved and could not help but explode in her heart. Feeling the warmth in her heart, Tushan Daji, who was in her soul form, took a deep breath. After a long exhalation, She bowed to Yi Chen solemnly and said, "Thank you, your majesty." When Yi Chen heard this, he smiled and nodded. Then he said, "Now, you have been recognized by the heavenly Tao. For the time being, you don't have to worry about being forcibly taken back to the untainted land by the heavenly Tao. However, you are still in your soul form. If you appear for a long time, your soul will be easily damaged. If it is not necessary, you should stay in a nine-tailed celestial fox fan for the time being." "Yes, your majesty. I will return to the nine-tailed celestial fox fan now." When Tushan Daji heard this, she nodded and said. When Yi Chen heard this, he nodded. At this time, Tushan Daji bowed to Yi Chen again. Then, she turned into a cloud of white gas and flew toward the nine-tailed celestial fox fan that was still floating in the main hall. In the blink of an eye, she disappeared without a trace. When he saw this, Yi Chen smiled slightly. Then, with a wave of his right hand, the nine-tailed celestial fox fan flew into Yi Chen's hand. Looking at the nine-tailed celestial fox fan in his hand, Yi Chen sighed secretly. Then he kept the nine-tailed celestial fox fan in his small world. In the next second, Yi Chen looked up at the sky. Then he bent his right hand and pointed at the sky. Boom, 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 boom. At the same time, the originally sunny Fox Branch Mountain was suddenly covered in dark clouds. Then it was plunged into darkness. In the next second, dense bolts of lightning shot out from the dark clouds and headed straight for Fox Branch Mountain. In an instant, the entire Fox Branch Mountain was covered in lightning. Then it became a thunder mountain. What Yi Chen did was naturally to kill all the foxes in Fox Branch Mountain. Not a single one of them was left alive. A few seconds later, the sound of thunder came to an abrupt end. At the same time, the lightning that covered the entire Fox Branch Mountain disappeared without a trace. Yi Chen glanced at the Fox Branch Mountain that had been completely destroyed by hundreds of thousands of lightning bolts. Then, he curled his lips in disdain. With a thought, the space in front of him started to distort. In the next second, Yi Chen stepped into the distorted space and disappeared without a trace. In the main hall of the city lord's residence in Samsara City, the space suddenly distorted. Then, Yi Chen stepped out and appeared in the hall. The flaming tiger Yilin, who was in charge of Samsara City, saw Yi Chen return. She hurried to Yi Chen's side and asked, "Brother, is everything all right? Brother, is everything settled?" "It's all settled. Don't worry and cultivate. Also, don't forget what I told you. No matter if it's a large group of insects, strange beasts, or humans, as long as they come within 100 miles of Samsara City, kill them without mercy." Yi Chen chuckled and nodded. Yi Chen had returned to the real world and killed Nangong Shur-san, a player from the Witch Tribe. This would definitely lead to the revenge of the Witch Tribe. In order to obtain the Imperial Decree, Yi Chen had killed the Golden Python of the Evolved Tribe. This would definitely lead to the revenge of the Evolved Tribe. Moreover, with the frequent appearance of powerful items, if the exact location of Samsara City in the real world was discovered by an intentional player, it was very likely that it would lead to the attack of a powerful item. It was because of this that Yi Chen had instructed the flaming tiger Yilin to kill all suspicious beings within 100 miles of Samsara City, whether they were insects, beasts, or humans. There was no need to hesitate. When the flaming tiger Yilin heard this, she nodded without hesitation and said, "Yes, brother." When Yi Chen heard this, he chuckled and patted the little head of the flaming tiger Yilin. Then he walked to the side of the diamond-level game cabin and lay down inside. The moment the door of the diamond-level game cabin closed, Yi Chen closed his eyes and re-entered the game world. In the game world, in the beginner's area of the Three Kingdoms, in the Castellan's mansion of Samsara Immortal City, a pillar of light suddenly appeared and Yi Chen appeared. The moment Yi Chen opened his eyes, the voices of Zhao Yu, Chan Wan, Kai Mi Zhen, Huang Wan and the Five Jin sisters rang out. Husband, that you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.